Chapter 71. Other people's fists would go straight out, but Ning Cheng's fist was chopped out. This fist chopped out, it was like a huge axe chopping down, filled with an overflowing killing intent. This was not a punch, it was almost like an axe chopping down. The axe fist directly dispersed Sun Shun's killing intent, but the axe fist did not even slow down, and still fell down. Bang, a muffled sound was heard. Ning Cheng's fist directly blew away Sun Shun's palm. Because Sun Shun did not put the chi-gathering realm Ning Cheng in his eyes, he did not use his full strength in this slap. In his view, this slap was enough to knock out all of Ning Cheng's teeth. But he did not think that Ning Cheng's imposing manner would be so powerful. He wanted to gather his true essence, but it was already too late and could only retreat. Ning Cheng saw through Sun Shun's thoughts. After the axe fist blew away Sun Shun, while Sun Shun was retreating, he once again sent out a kick. This kick landed solidly on Sun Shun's chest and directly kicked Sun Shun back. It looked like Sun Shun was sent flying by Ning Cheng's kick, but in fact, Sun Shun was not injured at all, he was just taking advantage of the situation. But on the surface, Sun Shun wanted to teach Ning Cheng a lesson, but the result was that Ning Cheng taught him a lesson and even kicked him away. Losing such a big face, Sun Shun's face turned red with anger, but at the same time he also felt a bit of fear towards Ning Cheng. He and Ning Cheng had just fought in a hurry, but he already knew that Ning Cheng was not an ordinary chi-gathering cultivator. Xiao, a red flying sword appeared in Sun Shun's hands. At the same time his imposing manner skyrocketed. It seems that he wanted to fight with Ning Cheng again. Zhu Jiao, who had been indulging finally, could not help but said, "If the two guests want to fight, then please leave this room and go outside to fight. This is the Yi Shui courtyard's listed room. If everyone did this, then my Yi Shui courtyard would no longer exist." This sentence was a combination of carrot and stick. Sun Shun's face turned blue. He finally stared at Ning Cheng and coldly snorted, "Good, good, today I, Sun Shun, will see how you leave Shijia City." Ning Cheng patted his clothes that did not have any wrinkles, and indifferently replied, "I, your father, will still say the same words. You are nothing." He and Sun Shun exchanged a few moves. He knew that this person's cultivation level was only equivalent to Xiong Qihua. If he used his full strength, he was not afraid of this Sun Shun at all. Ning Cheng also guessed that there was someone behind this Sun Shun. He believed that this person would not even bother to find someone to deal with him, and would definitely stop him outside the Shijia City. As long as he killed Sun Shun outside of Shijia City, he would immediately leave. Afterwards, even if people knew about it, he would have already left the Shijia City. Seeing Ning Cheng teach a lesson to the incomparably arrogant black-robed man Sun Shun, no one in the room dared to continue to increase the price. Ning Cheng used 4,000 spirit stones to buy Lianyi back. Tai Shu Shi even forgot that Lianyi had come over, and still spoke with excitement. "Big brother, good skill, good job." "Sure too." It was not until Lianyi called out in a trembling voice that Tai Shu Shi came to his senses. He immediately stood up, grabbed Lianyi's hands and spoke, "Lianyi, you can rest assured, I will never let you come to such a place again." Lianyi had been in a place like the Yi Shui courtyard all year round. As such, her eyes were not something that Tai Shu Shi could compare to. She already knew from Tai Shu Shi how to address Ning Cheng. As such, she gave a bow to Ning Cheng and spoke, "Many thanks, big brother, for helping me redeem Lian." Tai Shu Shi was in a very good mood and immediately said, let's go out and talk about it." At this time, Zhu Jiao once again called out from the stage, "Congratulations to Lianyi for returning to the side of her beloved. The happiest thing about my Yi Shui courtyard is this kind of thing." The next one to appear on stage is the youngest girl in the history of my Yi Shui courtyard. She is only 18 years old, Miss Han Yu. Han Yu is very considerate, delicate, and charming, although she has 3 spiritual roots, but she has a main spiritual root. If not to thank the guests who came to my Yi Shui courtyard to participate in the unveiling, we really would not be willing to hang up such an outstanding girl like Han Yu. Miss Han Yu's listed price is also 2,000 low-grade spirit stones. As Zhu Jiao finished speaking, the crystal curtain rolled up, and a short-haired woman appeared. This woman was indeed, as Zhu Jiao said, she was delicate and charming, but her eyes seemed to have a trace of decisiveness, and her face was extremely calm. Sure enough, it was Lu Hanyu. Ning Cheng secretly sighed in his heart. He did not know when Lu Hanyu's hair had been cut off, but her eyes showed that she was ready to die. But she had underestimated the people who bought these female cultivators. Once they bought them, even if they wanted to die, they would not be able to do so. I bid 2,100 spirit stones. Someone immediately began to bid. 2,200 spirit stones. 2,300 spirit stones. The price soon rose to 2,500 spirit stones. Sun Shun coldly stared at Ning Cheng and suddenly said in a loud voice, 3,000 spirit stones. As soon as Sun Shun called out his price, the surrounding voices instantly cooled down. 3,100 spirit stones. As soon as Ning Cheng called out his price, the surrounding people immediately knew that it had come again. This young man who was carrying a spear on his back did not seem to fear Sun Shun. Not only did he not fear him, he even wanted to go against him. Sun Shun's face sank. He suddenly stood up and said, "Kid, who are you, daring to go against this Sun everywhere? Go against you everywhere? Idiot, who do you think you are? Don't think too highly of yourself." Ning Cheng lightly said. He knew that Sun Shun was going to attack him, so he might as well thoroughly provoke this guy now. Very good. After Sun Shun heard Ning Cheng's words, he did not continue to bid, but instead sat down. The room was silent. A lot of people were very clear. It was not because Sun Shun was afraid of Ning Cheng, but because he already regarded Ning Cheng as a dead man. He would not haggle with a dead man. Even if this dead man obtained many things, he would not be able to take them away. Sun Shun did not increase the price, and no one would come to snatch Lu Hanyu from Ning Cheng. Lu Hanyu finally understood that Ning Cheng had come to redeem her. At this moment she tightly covered her mouth with her hand. She could not believe it. A person she had only met once would use more than 3,000 spirit stones to redeem her. At this moment, the will to die in her eyes disappeared without a trace, and in her eyes was a pleasant surprise. In the eyes of others, it was certain that Ning Cheng had taken a fancy to her and wanted to redeem her to serve him. Only Lu Hanyu was clear that Ning Cheng absolutely did not take a fancy to her, but really came to redeem her. There was no reason for this. It was just a kind of intuition. Big brother Ning, I did not think that you would come to redeem me. Lu Hanyu, who was sent to Ning Cheng and Tai Shu still could not believe that this was true. Knowing each other is predestined. Ning Cheng indicated that Lu Hanyu did not need to take this matter to heart. Then he took out the spirit stones and handed them over to the Yi Shui courtyard. After Ning Cheng handed over the spirit stones, he immediately turned to Tai Shu, Lian Yi and Lu Hanyu and said, "We will leave immediately." Tai Shu understood the meaning of Ning Cheng's words and gave Lian Yi a meaningful glance. Lian Yi and Lu Hanyu had been in this kind of place for a long time, so they did not need to be reminded. They already understood their situation. Without saying a word, they quickly followed Ning Cheng and Tai Shu out of the room. Sun Shun looked at the four people leaving and sneered. He also stood up and, along with the few female cultivators that he had bought, quickly followed them out. After the four people came out of the Shijia city, they ran all the way. But Lu Hanyu and Lian Yi's cultivation was too low and could not increase their speed. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, Ning Cheng finally stopped. He knew that Sun Shun had caught up and guessed that he wanted to make a move here. If it was only the two of them, then there was still a way to escape, but with Lu Hanyu and Lian Yi, they absolutely could not escape. When the other three people saw Ning Cheng stop, they also stopped. Tai Shu knew that Sun Shun had the cultivation of true condensation realm and asked with some worry, "Big brother, that guy is caught up, what should we do?" Ning Cheng took out a bag and handed it to Tai Shu and said, "Stone. Inside there is a simple map to the Hua continent, and also some spirit stones. You take Lian Yi and Lu Hanyu and go first, I will come later. If we do not meet up in 3 days, then we will meet again in the Hua continent." When Tai Shu heard Ning Cheng's words, he immediately knew what Ning Cheng wanted to do. He wanted to block Sun Shun for the few people and let the three of them go first. How can that be? If you want to fight, then let's fight together. I am also a Qi gathering 9th level cultivator. Tai Shu refused without hesitation. Ning Cheng showed a faint smile and said, "I have killed a true condensation 5th level cultivator, that Sun Shun was just a trivial true condensation second-level cultivator, I really did not put him in my eyes. You staying here would only delay our time. You also know the reason, letting you go first, is just to speed up the process of leaving this place. When Ning Cheng said that he had killed a true condensation 5th-level cultivator, Tai Shu sure was not surprised. In the Ping continent and the Yuan continent, most of the true condensation cultivators cultivated incomplete cultivation methods, and did not pay attention to the cultivation of spiritual sense. Ning Cheng cultivated a complete cultivation method, so it was really possible. But he always felt that something was not right. As for what was wrong, he could not say it. Let's go, I am alone, you do not have to worry about me. Ning Cheng went up and patted Tai Shu Shi's shoulder. Tai Shu Shi was very straightforward. Seeing that Ning Cheng was so confident, he also nodded and put away the things that Ning Cheng had handed to him and said, "Good, then we will go first." Lu Hanyu walked to Ning Cheng's side. She had not even started to speak, when Ning Cheng gave a sunny smile and said, "Congratulations to Miss Hanyu for leaving the Yishui courtyard. I also thank you for the spiritual tea that you gave me last time. Perhaps I would never be able to drink that kind of good tea again." Lu Hanyu did not answer his question and said, "I understand, you take care of yourself." Saying that, she gave a bow to Ning Cheng. She certainly understood. The reason why Ning Cheng saved her was because of the spiritual tea, and not because he had taken a fancy to her. But that spiritual tea was indeed the most precious thing that she had. No one knew that cup of spiritual tea. The value of it was many times more precious than the spirit stones that Ning Cheng had taken out. For her, the most precious thing was not the spiritual tea itself. Chapter 72. After Tai Shu Shi and the others left, Ning Cheng arranged an array formation in the same place as fast as he could. The array formation had just been arranged when, swish, a blue-colored airship-type artifact landed not far away from Ning Cheng. Sun Shun coldly glanced at the place where Tai Shu Shi and the other two people disappeared, and then calmly got down from the airship. It seemed that he was not in a hurry at all. There were also 4 women in the airship. These 4 women were bought by Sun Shun from the Yishui courtyard. Ning Cheng stared at Sun Shun's blue-colored airship and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. This fellow was very rich. Even his airship was unexpectedly a medium-grade artifact. Idiot, it really is a good idea. You can stop me for a moment, and then the other 3 can escape first, ha. Sun Shun looked at Ning Cheng and laughed, but his eyes did not have even half a trace of a smile. In the Shijia city, if I, Sun Shun, want to kill someone, there has never been an exception. While speaking, a red flying sword appeared in his hand. It was the red flying sword that he had brought out in the Yishui courtyard. Ning Cheng patted his back, and the broken spear also fell into his hands. Not waiting for Sun Shun to continue speaking, Ning Cheng turned towards the 4 women on the airship and spoke. "Now I have an opportunity. I want to fight with this fellow who uses women to cultivate. I'm sure that this fellow does not have the time to look for you. If you don't want to be a coward and become a cauldron, then leave by yourself." Sun Shun was shocked when he heard this. He did not think that Ning Cheng would not only snatch Lian and Lu Hanyu from his hands, but also dare to encourage the women he had already bought to escape. He looked back at the 4 women who seemed to be really interested in him, and suddenly laughed out loud and said, Your father, was able to catch that Tai Shu Shi who had escaped, so why would I be afraid of the people on my airship escaping? You should think about how to die first, because you'll soon realize that it's impossible for you to die even if you want to." Just as Sun Shun finished speaking, the red flying sword in his hands immediately covered Ning Cheng with a red curtain, revealing his cultivation of true condensation 2nd level without a doubt. Ning Cheng knew that Sun Shun was absolutely not someone that the ordinary true condensation cultivators of the Ping continent could be compared to. He was also a person that cultivated a complete cultivation method. Looking at the way he controlled the flying sword, he knew that his spiritual sense was not bad. Otherwise, he would not have been able to control the airship to chase them here. Moreover, he would not have the confidence to catch up with Tai Shu Shi and the others. Ning Cheng's hand shook, and the blue cloth wrapped around the long spear was torn apart, revealing the broken long spear. He casually waved his spear and brought out a spear light. Just before the spear shadows and the red sword curtain collided with each other, Ning Cheng once again spoke up. The opportunity to live is something that you have to fight for yourself. Now that I have given you a chance to live, yet you chose not to take it. You deserve it in the future. Listening to Ning Cheng's words, and seeing the might of Ning Cheng and Sun Shan, the four women who were still hesitating on the airship finally no longer hesitated, and jumped down from the airship one after another. They did not even have the time to say thank you words, as they scattered in all directions, disappearing in just a blink of an eye. Sun Shan, on seeing that Ning Cheng had really succeeded in encouraging his women to escape, immediately became so angry that he almost vomited blood. He was not worried that these women would be able to escape, he was angry because a chi-gathering 9th level ant had told them to escape, but these idiots really believed it. Now that he, Sun Shan, had bought them, how could they leave? Under the surge of anger, the red sword curtain became even more murderous. He wanted to kill Ning Cheng in the first moment, and then capture those cheap women one by one, and let them know the fate of betraying him, Sun Shan. Sun Shan quickly came to his senses. His sword curtain did not as he had expected. Ning Cheng's spear would be blown away, and then bound Ning Cheng and sent him in front of him. Ning Cheng's spear shadows had a total of 12. When these 12 spear shadows came out, they were scattered all over the place. But in the middle of these 12 spear shadows, they quickly formed an ice line that was invisible to the naked eye, and these ice lines instantly connected the spear shadows. Finally, even these 12 spear shadows were linked together, forming an ice-cold spear net. Ka. After a burst of intensive crisp sounds, the red sword curtain completely disappeared, leaving only a flying sword exposed under the ice-cold spear net, but the spear shadows were still as fierce as before. If one had to say that something was blocked by his sword curtain, then it should be that the ice in the middle of the spear net had weakened, and was unable to continue to form the ice-cold spear net. You actually have a profound grade spear technique. Sun Shan came to understand. Ning Cheng cultivated a complete cultivation method, as such he did not find it strange that he had a spiritual sense. He also cultivated a complete cultivation method, so when he was in the chi-gathering realm, he was also able to control a flying sword to fight against the enemy. Ning Cheng was able to break his sword curtain, and even had the absolute upper hand, not because his cultivation level was much higher than his, but because it was a profound grade spear technique. Puff puff. Several bloody lights shot out from Sun Shan's body. Sun Shan did not think that Ning Cheng would have a profound grade spear technique, even if he finally knew about it, and tried his best to remedy it, but he was still pierced by several spear shadows. He did not fear Ning Cheng because of this. Instead he took out a pill and threw it into his mouth, and then stuck out his tongue to lick the blood that splashed on his chin. At this time in his eyes there was a kind of crazy heat. He completely forgot about the few women who had escaped. No woman could be more important than a profound grade spear technique. What he wanted was the profound grade spear technique on Ning Cheng's body. Sun Shan did not continue to bring out his flying sword, but rather he patted the storage bag on his waist, and suddenly a moldy copper coin appeared in his hands. Go to hell for me. Sun Shan's mouth showed a trace of sarcasm as he brought out the copper coin in his hands. This copper coin instantly turned into a huge square hole the size of a dustpan. The next moment, the surrounding air seemed to be driven by this copper coin, and seemed to stagnate. Ning Cheng felt his hands sink. The broken spear in his hands also seemed to have become a lot heavier. Ning Cheng immediately knew that there should be a problem with the copper coin that Sun Shan had just brought out. He forcibly gathered his chi, and wanted to once again shoot out his 36 profound ice spear technique. But his 36 profound ice spear technique had just gathered its spear force. When he felt his hands go numb, the broken spear in his hands unexpectedly could not be held, and was directly swept away by a powerful force from the surroundings. The next moment he saw that the square copper coin had passed through the long spear, and directly sent the long spear flying. When the long spear left his hands, the heavy feeling in Ning Cheng's hands also instantly disappeared. Sun Shan's nostrils issued a sneer. The red flying sword once again brought out 3 sword lights. 2 of the sword lights completely sealed off Ning Cheng's retreat, while the 3rd sword light came towards Ning Cheng's waist, wanting to cut Ning Cheng's waist in half. The sword light was incomparably fast. In a hurry he had lost his long spear. Ning Qing simply did not have any leeway to block it. At this time what Ning Qing wanted the most was a defensive magical weapon. If he had a defensive magical weapon, then he would not have to worry about the sword light that was coming towards him. He could choose to rush towards the opponent. Sun Shun's face was also extremely pale. Even the sword light was somewhat trembling. It was obvious that he needed a lot of true essence to control that copper coin. Seeing that the sword light was about to cut through his waist, Ning Qing immediately sent out an axe fist. The axe fist blocked the sword light for a moment. The sword light eased a lot. The killing force also subsided a lot, but it still fell on Ning Qing's waist. Sun Shun was secretly relieved. He absolutely did not want Ning Qing to die so quickly, but Ning Qing's fierceness was beyond his expectations. Now facing his sword light, even if the opponent was even more ruthless, the only fate that awaited him was to be cut in half. Chi! The sound of leather being cut resounded. Ning Qing crazily spat out a mouthful of blood, but did not retreat. Sun Shun looked at the intact Ning Qing and the exposed armor on Ning Qing's waist. He immediately knew what was going on. Even if at this time his true essence was almost exhausted, he once again gathered his flying sword and wanted to attack Ning Qing once again. At the same time that the broken spear in Ning Qing's hands was swept away, he immediately brought out his 7 Pleiades ice needle. But his 7 Pleiades ice needle had not even had the time to attack the enemy when it was cut by the sword light. This was also the first time that he had encountered such a situation. It was because he did not have enough experience against the enemy. Now that he knew that the copper coin was the culprit that had swept away his broken spear, how could he wait for the opposite party to attack again? At the same time that Sun Shun brought out his flying sword, the 7 Pleiades ice needle had already crossed the distance between the two of them. When the 7 Pleiades ice needle pierced through Sun Shun's chest, Sun Shun knew that he had been plotted against, and immediately cried out in horror, "How is this possible? Why did my 5 elements treasure fall copper coin not drop this artifact?" A formidable destructive force wreaked havoc in his body. Sun Shun thoroughly understood, if he did not call for help, then he would have fallen here today. A bright red light came out from his hand. This light was just like a meteor, as it shot out from Sun Shun's hand. What's going on? Sun Shun saw that the bright red light that was calling for help seemed to have met with some kind of obstruction, and was only able to shoot for less than 10 feet, when it was blocked. Ning Qing drove the 7 Pleiades ice needle into Sun Shun's body, and Sun Shun's eyes immediately lost their luster. He was still staring at Ning Qing. He really could not figure out, why would he fall in the hands of a chi-gathering realm kid? "I am just a small array formation master. Before you came, I had already arranged a small array formation to block some shameless people from calling for help, idiot," Ning Qing said as he punched out. Sun Shun was directly blown away by Ning Qing's punch, and when he fell down again, he was already a corpse. Only then did the dazzling red light that was blocked by the array formation fall down and slowly dissipate into thin air. Chapter 73. Ning Qing quickly put away everything that he could put away. Even the airship-type artifact was simply refined by him before he put it into his storage bag, before he quickly left. Originally Ning Qing and Tai Shushi had an appointment to meet in 3 days. He was worried that Sun Shun would ask for help. Once the opponent was too strong, Ning Qing even planned to escape to the Dawn Forest. Now that Sun Shun was killed by him, and the distress signal had not been sent out, it made Ning Qing feel relieved. He had not been separated from Tai Shushi for a long time, so he thought that he would soon be able to catch up with them. But after 2 hours, Ning Qing stopped, as he felt that something was wrong. He had obviously followed the trail of Tai Shushi, but after arriving here, he found that there was no trace of him at all. Ning Qing once again searched the place where Tai Shushi had disappeared several times, but was still not able to find even half a clue. Half a day later, Ning Qing left the place. He decided to go to the edge of the Thunder Fall Desert to wait. He had given the map to Tai Shushi. If Tai Shushi wanted to go through the desert to the Hua continent, then he would have to go through the entrance marked on the map. From the Yuan continent to the Hua continent, one must pass through the Thunder Fall Desert, whether you fly or walk. Outside the Thunder Fall Desert, there were 3 small towns: Thunder Fall Town, Moonsand Town, and Firefly Town. Among these 3 towns, the largest and most lively town was the Thunder Fall Town. Every year, there were countless cultivators that entered the Thunderfall Desert from the Thunderfall town. Other than a very small number of people who wanted to search for treasures in the Thunderfall Desert, most of the people wanted to pass through the Thunderfall Desert to enter the Hua continent. In fact, there were very few people who could pass through the Thunderfall Desert and enter the Hua continent. Most of the people died in the Thunderfall Desert. For a long time, the Thunderfall Desert was also known as the Falling Bone Desert. There were just too many white bones inside. Too many cultivators had fallen here. Even so, the number of people who entered the Thunderfall Desert never stopped, one wave after another. According to the simple map that Ning Cheng had obtained from Ko Hong, he did not enter from the Thunderfall town, but rather from the Moon Sand town. The Moon Sand town was relatively remote, and the resources in the surrounding desert were less, far from the prosperity of the Thunderfall town. Ning Cheng rushed all the way, and a month later appeared outside the Moon Sand town. In this 1 month he did not even take out the storage bag of the black-robed man Sun Shun to check. The main reason was that he wanted to rush to the Moon Sand town as soon as possible. Once he arrived at the Moon Sand town, he could not only wait for Tai Shu Shi. If there was any problem, he could also escape to the Thunderfall Desert at the first moment. Some of the tired adventurers came back from the outside, and just like Ning Cheng, stepped into the afterglow of the setting sun and entered the Moon Sand town. Compared to the bustling Thunderfall town, the Moon Sand town seemed somewhat desolate. Ning Cheng was sure that with his speed, Tai Shu Shi would definitely not arrive before him. He decided to wait for Tai Shu Shi in the Moon Sand town so that he could refine the 2 artifacts in his hands, and at the same time prepare to advance to the true condensation realm. Whether it was the moldy copper coin or the medium-grade airship-type artifact, Ning Cheng was very much looking forward to them. Relatively speaking, he did not care about the red flying sword. Moon Sand Town's rest stop was as sparse as the passers-by. It was also sparse. Ning Cheng found a rest stop in an inconspicuous part of the town and stayed there. Cultivators like Ning Cheng were everywhere in the Moon Sand Town. These cultivators would usually go out once every few months. When they came back, they would choose to go into closed-door cultivation. When their cultivation resources were exhausted, they would once again leave Moon Sand Town. And so on and so forth until the day they die. Searching for cultivation resources in the Thunderfall Desert, there were only a few people who did not die. Although they knew this, but this kind of life was still the choice of many rogue cultivators, or perhaps they simply did not have any other choice. The rest stop that Ning Cheng found was called Moon River Rest Stop. Even in the Moon Sand Town, the Moon River Rest Stop was a small and inconspicuous place. Living in this kind of place were the most destitute of the rogue cultivators. Ning Cheng did not care about it. After he entered the rest stop, he immediately put up the closed-door medallion and simultaneously arranged a variety of array formations in the room, concealing spiritual array, defensive array. After arranging the array formations, Ning Cheng first took out the moldy copper coin. This copper coin was able to sweep away his spear-type artifact, which made Ning Cheng extremely surprised. If he did not have the 7 Pleiades ice needle and the inner armor, perhaps he would have been killed by that Sun Shun. The main reason for this was that he lacked experience in fighting against enemies, but the power of this moldy copper coin was beyond doubt. Refining this copper coin was extremely difficult. It took Ning Cheng 10 days, but he was only able to refine one of the layers of restrictions. At the same time, he also understood why Sun Shun had such a difficult time using this copper coin to sweep away his artifact. That Sun Shun at most had only refined 2 layers of restrictions. Coupled with his limited cultivation, it was extremely difficult for him to use it. This copper coin was called the 5 Elements Treasure Fall Copper Coin. No wonder his spear was taken away by this copper coin. It turned out to be a magical artifact that was specifically used to drop magical artifacts. This magical artifact was simply too heaven-defying. Unfortunately, this copper coin had a fatal flaw. That is, it could only drop magical artifacts of the 5 elements. The 7 Pleiades ice needle was refined from a tail needle. It was not within the 5 elements. As such, this copper coin could not fall. In any case, this was definitely a treasure. Moreover, it was a good treasure. As for the other layers of restrictions, Ning Cheng did not continue to refine them. He intended to wait until he had free time to refine the restrictions. Compared to the 5 elements treasure fall copper coin, this medium-grade airship-type artifact was much easier to refine. Ning Cheng only spent half a day and was able to refine this medium-grade airship-type artifact, while simultaneously taking this artifact as his own. Ning Cheng also refined the red flying sword and threw it into his own storage bag. He did not like flying sword-type artifacts. Ning Cheng finally took out the black-robed man's storage bag. In the Yi Shui courtyard, Sun Shun was extremely generous, so Ning Cheng was very much looking forward to his storage bag. Ning Cheng did not spend much time refining the storage bag, but when his spiritual consciousness swept into the storage bag, he was immediately disappointed. According to the way Sun Shun spent his spirit stones, Ning Cheng thought that his storage bag would have at least 30 to 40,000 spirit stones, but in fact, this storage bag only had about 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. This was also because the other party had not bought Lian Ni and Lu Hanyu, otherwise, there would only be about 2,000 spirit stones in this storage bag. Inside the storage bag, there were a few bottles of pills, as well as a few jade strips. Ning Cheng casually took out one of the jade strips and swept it with his spiritual sense. It really was the same as what he had guessed. These jade strips recorded how to use female cultivators for cultivation. From this, it could be seen that this Sun Shun's master was not a good person. Sweeping the rest of the jade strips, he found that they all had the same type. Ning Cheng directly brought out a ball of flame and burned these jade strips. He came from Earth and could not accept that this kind of cultivation method existed in this world. After obtaining the 10,000 spirit stones in addition to his own 1 or 2,000 spirit stones, Ning Cheng decided to attack the true condensation realm. When he reached the true condensation realm, presumably Tai Shu would also come to the Moon Sand Town. One by one, the spirit stones were turned into powder by Ning Cheng, and the spiritual qi was blocked by the array formation that he had arranged, although there was still some spiritual qi that could not be blocked. But when the guests of the rest stop went into seclusion, the spiritual qi would circulate, so no one would find it strange. A month later, Ning Cheng once again went out to purchase some food, and once again returned to his room. At this time, he was already at the Great Circle of Qi Gathering 9th level, and was ready to advance to the true condensation realm. After taking the true condensation pill, the qi in his body immediately became restless. Ning Cheng knew that the process of advancing to the true condensation realm was to transform his qi into true essence, so his heart was not in a hurry, and slowly revolved his cultivation method to transform his qi into true essence. He cultivated the complete cultivation method. When his qi was at the Qi Gathering 9th level, it had already begun to transform into true essence. Now with the help of the true condensation pill, it was not difficult for him to begin the transformation. As time passed by in Ning Cheng's closed-door cultivation, the pile of spirit stones around him was getting smaller and smaller. He did not know how much time had passed, but when Ning Cheng transformed all the qi in his meridians into true essence, the meridians in his body issued a burst of ka-ka sound. It seemed that at this moment, all the meridians had more than doubled in size. Phew, Ning Cheng took a deep breath and suddenly stood up. Is this the true condensation realm? Ning Cheng had just advanced to the true condensation realm and could feel the flow of true essence in his body that was several times more powerful than when he was at the Qi Gathering 9th level, and could not help but exclaim out loud. Before he reached the condensing reality realm, he always thought that the condensing reality realm was just SOSO. After all, he was able to kill a condensing reality realm cultivator when he was only at the Qi Gathering realm. But when he reached the condensing reality realm, he realized that the difference between the condensing reality realm and the Qi Gathering realm was just too huge. The reason why he was able to kill condensing reality realm warriors was that he had never met a real condensing reality realm warrior before. If there was a condensing reality realm warrior like him, how could a Qi Gathering realm warrior fight against him? The power of true essence was not something that true Qi could compare with. Calculating that he had already been in the Moon Sand Town for almost 2 months, but there was still no news of Tai Shu. Ning Cheng decided not to wait any longer. He wanted to enter the Thunder Fall Desert alone and go to the Hua continent. Ning Cheng cleaned himself up and walked out of the rest stop. He was ready to leave some traces outside the Moon Sand Town. After Tai Shu Shi came to the Moon Sand town, he knew that he had already been here. Ning Qing had just walked out of the town when he saw a group of people gathered at the entrance of the town. These people seemed to be chattering enthusiastically. Ning Qing curiously squeezed his way in, only to find that there was a notice posted under the huge signboard outside the town. There was a huge portrait on the notice. It was his appearance, and he was carrying a spear on his back. The content of the notice was very clear. If someone got any news about the person in the portrait, they could immediately report it. The person who reported it could get a reward of 10,000 spirit stones. If they could catch the person in the portrait, they could get a reward of 100,000 spirit stones, regardless of whether they lived or died. Originally, it was a warrant for his arrest. Ning Qing sneered in his heart. In this Moon Sand town, wanting to catch him was simply a dream. Hey, it's him. He is the person on the warrant. At this time, someone had already discovered Ning Qing and immediately exclaimed out loud. With this exclamation, the surrounding people found that the wanted person was right in front of them. Some of the cultivators even took out their artifacts, but they did not dare to rush up and capture Ning Qing. Ning Qing's imposing manner clearly showed that they were not Ning Qing's opponent. If they tried to force their way up, they would only die. Spirit stones were good, but they also needed to be alive to enjoy it. Ning Qing brought out a flying sword. After stepping on the flying sword, he did not immediately leave, but instead spoke in a clear voice. You go and tell the person who issued the warrant that I killed Sun Shun and that I will be back in a few years. But I will come back to kill him. Saying that in front of the eyes of the crowd, Ning Qing disappeared without a trace. No one dared to chase after him. Chapter 74. In less than an hour, Ning Qing arrived at the edge of the Thunder Fall Desert. In front of his eyes was a dark yellow haze. It was as if there was a layer of yellow fog in front of him. His eyes could not see far. At the edge of the desert, there was a huge boulder with a radius of 100 feet. This boulder was the entrance marked on the simple map that Ning Qing had obtained. Ning Qing did not hesitate and directly stepped on his flying sword and rushed into the desert. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Ning Qing had no choice but to land his flying sword. Even if he had the cultivation of true condensation realm, the violent sandstorm in the Thunderfall Desert made it impossible for him to control the position of his flying sword. Similarly, he was also unable to find a specific map mark in the desert. Ning Qing put away his flying sword and instead sped up his pace. He had said that he would come back in the future to kill the person who wanted him, but at the moment he was far from being the opponent of this person. The faster he escaped, the better. 3 days later, Ning Qing found the second mark on the simple map. It was a dead poplar tree. Ning Qing went to a huge poplar tree root and sat down. After running for 3 consecutive days in the desert, he also felt a little tired. Ning Qing had just sat down when a terrible whistling sound came. Ning Qing quickly stood up again. A yellow dragon composed of fine sand rushed over. Its speed was incomparably fast. Ning Qing did not even have the leeway to resist, as he was directly swept away by the yellow dragon, and at the same time was sent flying by the yellow dragon. At this moment Ning Qing could only sigh in his heart at the crazy and terrifying nature. If he was an ordinary person, then he would have been directly swept to pieces by this yellow dragon. Ning Qing soon felt that something was wrong. This yellow dragon that was composed of yellow sand was like a tornado. After he was swept away by the yellow sand, it seemed as if his whole body was being swept away in a certain direction. Because he felt that something was wrong, Ning Qing remembered that he was already a cultivator at true condensation first level. A cultivator at true condensation first level should not be swept away by the yellow sand in the desert, right? As the yellow sand became more and more binding on him, the bad feeling in Ning Qing's heart also became heavier and heavier. He had an intuition in his heart that in the end he would not even have the leeway to break free, and would be swept away to a place that he did not know. Thinking of this, Ning Qing became anxious and immediately punched out. This fist was the move that he had comprehended from the great axe's killing intent in the Dawn Forest. He did not have an axe, so he directly punched out with his fist. It turned out that the few times he used this fist axe, the effect seemed to be good. Bang! A sound similar to the explosion of leather resounded. Ning Cheng's fist directly blasted open a sand hole in the middle of the yellow dragon. Ning Cheng did not even think about it, as his entire body turned into a straight line as he passed through this sand hole. In the next moment, the yellow sand dragon had already disappeared into the distance with a rumbling sound. When Ning Cheng looked down, he discovered that other than the set of armor that the old woman from the Nanyuan city had helped him to refine, the rest of the clothes on his body had completely disappeared. There were only countless scratches from the sand. So powerful! Ning Cheng exclaimed to himself, as he quickly took out a set of clothes and put it on. The Thunderfall Desert also had this kind of terrifying yellow dragon. If he did not come out of the yellow dragon in time, then what would the result be? At this time when the yellow dragon passed by, Ning Cheng found that he had already lost his way. Ning Cheng looked all around, and just wanted to see the specific location of the populous poplar tree. When he felt the ground loosening under his feet, he subconsciously flew up. At the place where he had just been standing, there appeared a huge whirlpool. This whirlpool sucked in all the sand around it, forming a funnel shape. An incomparably powerful suction force came. This force was very abrupt, and almost sucked Ning Cheng into the funnel whirlpool. Ning Cheng forcibly revolved his true essence. His whole body was like a sword, as he rushed towards the sand outside the whirlpool. After a few breaths, Ning Cheng landed on the sand, looking at the whirlpool in the distance that was getting bigger and bigger. This was the first time that he felt the terror of the Thunderfall Desert. If he was sucked into this whirlpool, then perhaps it would not take his life, but who knew what was inside this whirlpool? It seemed that he had to find the route that he had taken before, otherwise it would be very difficult for him to get out of the Thunderfall Desert. The route that he had taken before was certainly the safest route in the desert, otherwise he would not have met with danger for several consecutive days. Now that he had deviated from the original route that he had taken, he had encountered danger several times. If not for the passing yellow dragon taking him away, he should not have deviated from the original route. Ning Cheng was walking more and more carefully. At this time he was not looking for a way to reach the Hua continent, but rather to find the route that he had originally taken. Another 5 days passed by. Ning Cheng encountered more than a dozen different kinds of sand and stone whirlpools, but he was able to escape from them. Fortunately, he did not encounter that kind of sand and stone whirlpool a second time. Ning Cheng knew that this was not the way to go. If he continued like this, then sooner or later he would fall in this Thunderfall Desert. He stopped, although he did not know how to refine a positional array disk, but he could make a simple compass. Ning Cheng's compass had not yet been completed when Ning Cheng detected a fishy smell in the air. Ning Cheng immediately grabbed the broken spear from behind. This fishy smell was definitely the smell of a monstrous beast. He knew that there were many monstrous beasts in the Thunder Sea Desert. Moreover, these monstrous beasts were in groups. Once he was surrounded by them, it would be difficult for him to escape. Sure enough, Ning Cheng had just grabbed the spear in his hands when a cha sound of grinding could be heard. When Ning Cheng saw the monstrous beasts in front of him, he almost froze. Countless monstrous beasts blotted out the sky as they rushed towards him. These monstrous beasts were so densely packed that he could not even see the end of them. Moreover, these monstrous beasts were rushing towards him in a three-dimensional formation. Not only were there some on the ground, there were even some that were flying in the air. Ning Cheng could imagine that there were also similar monstrous beasts under the sand and stones. These monstrous beasts were covered with sarcomas of different sizes, and looked to be only a foot long. Their sharp mouths were dripping with some turbid mucus. They looked extremely ugly and terrible. After the densely packed monstrous beasts saw Ning Cheng, they immediately swarmed towards him. Ning Cheng's scalp tingled. He had never seen such a disgusting scene before. He did not dare to hesitate for even half a moment. The spear in his hands immediately shot out a spear light. These spear lights formed a spear net, blocking the countless ugly monstrous beasts outside the spear net. There was an advantage to fighting with these monstrous beasts. That is, you only need to display your most powerful strength. You do not need to worry about being schemed against. A bloody mist spread out in front of the spear lights, as Ning Cheng's spear lights swept and killed these monstrous beasts. Ning Cheng could clearly see that the corpses of these monstrous beasts that he had killed were instantly devoured by their companions, and then the rest of the monstrous beasts continued to swarm towards him, as if they did not know what death was. The cultivation of these monstrous beasts was indeed not high, but even if it was not high, it would not be able to withstand such a large number. Batches after batches of monstrous beasts were killed by Ning Cheng, but batches after batches of the same monstrous beasts once again swarmed towards him. Not only that, these sand monstrous beasts also spewed out an unpleasant smell. As soon as Ning Cheng smelled this smell, he immediately felt uncomfortable, but fortunately, with the agitation of his true essence, this discomfort soon disappeared without a trace. For the entire day, Ning Cheng spent his time in the midst of killing. His 12 profound ice spear technique derived the 13th spear technique, the 14th spear technique, the 21st spear technique. Unfortunately, even if his spear techniques were getting more and more proficient, and the number of spear lights derived from it was also getting more and more, but his true essence was simply unable to keep up. He did not know how many of these sand monstrous beasts he had killed, but the number of monstrous beasts he had to face not only did not decrease, but instead increased. Ning Cheng's heart was filled with despair. If he had known that this would happen, then he would have rather been swept away by that yellow dragon. The situation in front of him, for him, was simply a dilemma. He simply had no way to get out of it. Whether it was in the air, on the surface of the sand, or under the sand, there were endless sand monstrous beasts. Just when Ning Cheng was thinking about whether the mysterious yellow bead within his body could help him or not, the seemingly endless monstrous beasts in the desert suddenly gave up on continuing to attack Ning Cheng, instead crazily fled from Ning Cheng's side. In just a short period of time, the densely packed monstrous beasts in the desert had completely disappeared. If not for the fine sand in the vicinity being dyed dark red, Ning Cheng would have thought that the scene from a moment ago was just an illusion. My luck is not that good, right? Ning Cheng could not believe it as he muttered to himself, just when he was about to be killed by these sand monstrous beasts, these sand monstrous beasts suddenly inexplicably retreated. If this was not good luck, then what was it? Chapter 75. Ning Cheng did not believe that his luck was really that good. He was not even able to figure out what was going on, when an explosion resounded above his head, followed by a large amount of lightning falling down. This large amount of lightning fell not far in front of Ning Cheng. The yellow sand where the lightning fell instantly turned into nothingness, as a huge whirlpool appeared out of thin air. The surrounding yellow sand at this moment fell into this whirlpool, causing the whirlpool to grow bigger and bigger. This kind of terrible suction force, even Ning Cheng could feel it. Ning Cheng, at this moment, came to understand, these sand monstrous beasts knew that the lightning was coming, so they immediately fled. Once these lightning fell on those monstrous beasts, there was simply no need to ask. He knew that those monstrous beasts would immediately turn into nothingness. At this moment, Ning Cheng could not continue to stay in the same place. He immediately rushed out and followed the direction of those sand monstrous beasts. Ning Cheng had just left, when the place where he was standing, another large amount of lightning fell down. This large amount of lightning instantly turned the place where he was standing into dust. The whirlpool in the sand directly connected with the place where he was standing, as it grew bigger and bigger. This kind of formidable might, not to say that he had the cultivation of true condensation realm, even if he had the cultivation of essence building realm, if he was swept by this lightning, he would only be able to wait for death. Ning Cheng almost mobilized all of his speed, as he rushed forward in a line of yellow sand. The third lightning fell down. This lightning was still a few feet away from Ning Cheng, but the aftermath of the lightning was enough to turn the clothes that Ning Cheng had just changed into dust. As the third lightning fell down, the lightning became more and more concentrated, and seemed to be getting closer and closer. Ning Cheng, who was running all the way, finally understood the pattern of these lightning, although the lightning was huge, but all of them were in a straight line. When Ning Cheng tried to escape, he no longer followed a straight line, but consciously tried to escape diagonally. Boom boom, sounds constantly resounded from behind Ning Cheng. As Ning Cheng escaped all the way, there were constantly pits in the sand. Fortunately, Ning Cheng was already experienced in this, although these sand pits and whirlpools appeared abruptly, but they were not able to bring him in. What really made him dread was the terrifying lightning that was coming from behind him. After half a day, Ning Cheng felt that the sound of the thunder behind him was getting smaller and smaller, before it finally disappeared in another direction. Ning Cheng stopped as he continued to gasp for breath and spoke to himself. So this is how the Thunderfall Desert came to be. The most terrible thing in this place is actually this kind of thunder. Ning Cheng had just breathed a sigh of relief when a loud whistle whistled through the air, followed by a white light rushing out from the distant horizon. Someone? Ning Cheng quickly determined that these whistling and whistling sounds were man-made. At this point of time, he had already lost his way in the Thunderfall Desert, so when he saw someone, how could he possibly miss them? He immediately rushed towards the place where the white light was coming from. Half an hour later, Ning Cheng appeared on the periphery of this place. At the same time, he also determined that there were indeed people in this place. Not only were there people, but there were also buildings that looked like Mongolian yurts. Inside these Mongolian yurts, there was a large expanse of green, and even an incomparably clear lake. There were several soldiers standing guard around this temporary building. In Ning Cheng's view, the cultivation of these guards were extremely poor. The highest among them was only an ordinary martial artist. Moreover, there was not even a trace of chi fluctuations coming from their bodies. At most, there was only a bit of fierce murderous aura. This place is so dangerous. How did these people get here? Ning Cheng was getting more and more surprised in his heart. In this place, even if one's cultivation was a bit poor, they would still be swallowed up by the desert at any time, but he actually found these guards who did not have any cultivation at all. Ning Cheng rubbed his eyes. He almost thought that he was seeing things. Ning Cheng decided to go and take a look. In the shortest possible time, he took off the tattered clothes on his body and used the dust removal method to wash himself, and then put on a clean set of clothes, and then carried the spear on his back. Then he slowly walked towards the Mongolian yurt-like place, while at the same time he concealed his cultivation at Qi Gathering 7th level. The cultivations of these people were not high. Some of them did not even have any cultivation. He did not want to stand out too much. Ning Cheng had just approached the Mongolian yurt-like area when two soldiers who were guarding the place saw Ning Cheng and immediately came over. "Excuse me, two friends, I am lost in this place. I am thirsty and hungry. I would like to borrow a place to rest for a while." Ning Cheng did not wait for the two soldiers to speak, as he first came forward and politely cupped his fists in greeting. The two soldiers looked at Ning Cheng from head to toe. Ning Cheng did not look like a thirsty and hungry person. On the contrary, he looked more like a neighbor who came to visit. One of the soldiers winked at the other person. After the other person saw the winking, he quickly turned around and left. After the other person left, the soldier said to Ning Cheng, "Please stay. This is the royal carriage of our king. If you want to go in, you must first get a report." Ning Cheng looked at the soldier's expression and knew that things were not as simple as what the other party had said. He casually said, "Oh, in that case, I will change to another place to rest." Saying that, Ning Cheng turned around to leave. When the soldier saw that Ning Cheng was about to leave, he quickly stopped in front of Ning Cheng and said, "My friend, please stop. Before we figure out your origin, you cannot leave this place." Ning Cheng raised an eyebrow and said, "What's wrong? Do you think this place belongs to you? I am just passing through here. Not only do you not give me water to drink, but you also want to rob me?" The soldier who stopped Ning Cheng was just about to speak when he heard a deep and resounding voice. The king said, "Since you have come, then come in." When Ning Cheng heard this voice, he immediately understood that the person who spoke was at least at true condensation 3rd level, indicating that the appearance of these yurts in this place was not a simple matter. "Yes," the soldier respectfully replied, and then turned to Ning Cheng and politely said, "My friend, please follow me. Lead the way." Ning Cheng did not intend to leave. He just wanted to ask about the route. If he did not ask about the correct route, then it was very likely that he would fall in this Thunderfall Desert. These people dared to arrange so many temporary yurts in this place. Moreover, they also knew that there was a desert oasis here, so the probability of them knowing the correct route was more than 90%. This kind of opportunity, how could Ning Cheng let it go? After entering the range of these yurts, Ning Cheng discovered that these yurts were arranged in a unique position, forming a defensive array formation, which just surrounded the oasis in the middle. And next to the oasis, there was a particularly large yurt. The soldier led Ning Cheng to the entrance of the largest yurt and said to Ning Cheng, "The master has summoned you, you can go in." Ning Cheng used his spiritual consciousness to sweep a few meters around him, but did not find any abnormalities, and then slowly walked in. This yurt was very large. Ning Cheng felt as if he had entered a large auditorium. The area was at least a few hundred square meters. At the top sat a long-haired, barefooted young girl. This young girl seemed to be very weak and incomparably beautiful. The only thing that made people uncomfortable was that her eyes were slightly triangular, which did not match her soft and beautiful face. In Ning Cheng's view, she did not have any true essence fluctuations, so she should have never cultivated. But the feeling that this young girl gave Ning Cheng was very strange. On both sides of this young girl stood a man and a woman. The woman had a rough face and was extremely valiant. Ning Cheng could see that her cultivation level was the great circle of Qi gathering 9th level. On the other side was a man with soft skin, just like a pretty boy, but his cultivation level was already at true condensation 3rd level. Further down, there were 2 rows of guards on the left and right. Their cultivations were basically at Qi gathering 9th level. In addition to this, in the corner of the hall, there were 3 cultivators hanging with ropes, 2 men and 1 woman. What made Ning Cheng surprised was that these 3 cultivators had the cultivation of true condensation realm, but the 3 of them did not even have the slightest ability to resist. Their heads were hanging down, and the circulation of the true essence in their bodies seemed to be incomparably sluggish. There were several soldiers holding whips in their hands standing beside the 3 people. From the scars on the bodies of the 3 people, it could be seen that their injuries were caused by these soldiers. The most miserable one was the female cultivator. She was already at true condensation 2nd level. Her clothes were torn apart, revealing her white skin. But this white skin was also riddled with scars. This whiteness could only be vaguely seen from these scars. These 3 people were obviously still breathing when they heard the sound of Ning Cheng coming in. They raised their heads together and looked at Ning Cheng in puzzlement. A very strange smell came. Ning Cheng felt that this smell was very strange. It was similar to the smell that he had smelled when he was fighting with the group of monstrous beasts in the desert. This kind of smell made him extremely uncomfortable, but fortunately with the circulation of his true essence, this smell quickly dissipated. "Master, this is the person who broke into the king's carriage forbidden area." When the soldier who had rushed back saw Ning Cheng come in, he quickly came forward and knelt down. The woman who was addressed as master waved her hand and said, "I know. You can go out now." After the soldier went out, the young girl looked up and down at Ning Cheng, who was not even half a bit nervous. Ning Cheng's clothes were incomparably clean, and he was carrying a wrapped spear on his back. It was as if he was just taking a stroll here. Even standing there was not even a shred of uneasiness. The young girl frowned and slowly asked, "Who are you? Why did you break into my North Jew tribe's encampment?" North Jew tribe? Ning Cheng did not know what kind of place North Jew tribe was. He came here to ask about the correct route to the Hua continent. Hearing these words, he quickly cupped his fists and politely said, "My name is Ning Xiao Cheng. I was just passing by. It really is a misunderstanding." The Qi gathering 9th level sturdy-looking woman who was standing next to the young girl suddenly shouted at Ning Cheng, "Beast, in front of the king, why are you not kneeling down before me?" Ning Cheng's face sank. He had come here to ask questions, not to beg for mercy. In Ning Cheng's dictionary, there was no such thing as begging for mercy. Ning Cheng suddenly took a few steps forward. When all the people thought that he was going to speak, Ning Cheng suddenly took a step forward, and in a blink of an eye arrived in front of the sturdy-looking woman, as he raised his hands and slapped her twice. "Papa." 2 clear and crisp sounds resounded. When everyone saw Ning Cheng once again return to his original position, the sturdy-looking woman who had cursed at Ning Cheng had 2 purplish-red palm marks on her face. Chapter 76. There were nearly 20 people in the room, but only one of them reacted to Ning Cheng's attack. It was the true condensation 3rd level man who was standing on the other side of the young girl. But although he was the first one to react to Ning Cheng's slap, but he did not get up to stop it. When Ning Cheng was about to slap the fierce-looking woman, he was already prepared to wait for the true condensation realm man to get up to stop him. Once the true condensation realm man got up to stop him, he would immediately use his axe fist to chop out, and then slap the fierce-looking woman. He did not expect that the true condensation realm man would not stop him, which made Ning Cheng a little surprised. But then Ning Cheng came to understand, this person should have some kind of grudge with the fierce-looking woman. Seeing a passerby daring to hit a person in front of the king, moreover the one who was hit was the king's most favored bodyguard, the people in the room were shocked. The three cultivators who were hung up looked at Ning Cheng in surprise. They did not know where Ning Cheng got such courage from. You are courting death. The fierce-looking woman did not think that Ning Cheng would dare to hit her, and immediately became angry. Her whole body was burning with anger, and looked like she was about to rush towards Ning Cheng. The young girl who was sitting in the middle immediately stopped her, and the fierce-looking woman immediately calmed down. She stared at Ning Cheng with anger in her eyes, but she did not rush towards Ning Cheng again. The young girl stared at Ning Cheng a few more times, and then said in a cold voice, "Don't tell me that you think you have some skills, and come to my North Jew tribe to teach people a lesson? My North Jew tribe has always been hospitable. We invited you here as a guest, but not for you to show off your strength." Saying that, she pointed to the three cultivators who were hung up and said, "Do you know why they are hung up? Because they came to my North Jew tribe to show off their strength. But if you do not use underhanded means, then you are just a fart. What North Jew tribe? This father can kill all of you by himself." A male cultivator who was hung up spat, and said with disdain, "Oh, since that is the case, then I will put you down, and then let's have a spar. Let's see if you really are as powerful as you say." The man at true condensation third level finally spoke out in an indifferent manner. When the male cultivator who was hung up heard the words of the man at true condensation third level, he immediately shut his mouth. It was obvious that he had suffered a loss in the hands of the opposite party. Thinking that the enemy of my enemy is my friend, Ning Cheng laughed and said, "So it turned out to be a sneak attack, ah? I was just wondering how these trash were able to catch three experts. You haven't answered my question." The murderous aura in the young girl's eyes was getting more and more intense. The people around them did not know why their king was so patient this time, and had not even spoken out against Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng suddenly took a few steps forward. When the man at the true condensation third level saw Ning Cheng walking towards their king, he quickly took a step forward and blocked Ning Cheng's path, while at the same time his entire body was shrouded in an evil chi. As long as the young girl gave the word, he could immediately start at any time. Ning Cheng stopped as he stared at the girl and spoke, "Guest? I've been standing here for a long time. Why haven't I seen a cup of tea? Why didn't he see a chair? Instead, the dog barked a few times. Bad luck, bad luck." Saying that, Ning Cheng clapped his hands, as if he really wanted to slap away the bad luck in his hands. "Kill him." The girl finally couldn't hold back her anger and coldly spat out two words. The 8 Chi gathering 9th level cultivators on both sides immediately swarmed forward. They had long been waiting for their master to say these two words. Now that they heard it, how could they be even half a bit slow? Ning Cheng did not even take out the long spear on his back. He was only at the true condensation first level. If he needed to use an artifact to deal with several Chi gathering 9th level cultivators, then it would simply be a joke. Almost at the same time, he blasted out 4 fists. Or it should be said that he had blasted out 4 fists, for axe fists in succession. The 4 axe fists looked like they came one after the other, but when they were really swept out, it was as if they came out at the same time. A violent and intense killing intent instantly enveloped the entire room. The complexion of the man at the true condensation third level changed. He could see the killing intent of the great axe in Ning Cheng's fist shadows. Ning Cheng was obviously unarmed, but he seemed to have seen several axe shadows chopping out. This person was definitely a strong opponent. The man at the true condensation third level waved his hand, and an octagonal hammer-type artifact appeared in his hands. Not waiting for him to come forward, he heard puff puff. 4 consecutive sounds. Out of the 8 Chi gathering 9th level cultivators who had rushed towards Ning Cheng, 4 of them had already fallen to the ground. The other 4 people stared blankly at the 4 corpses lying on the ground in a pool of blood. Their faces were pale, and did not dare to come forward. The complexion of the young girl who had fallen to the ground also changed, and immediately stood up. Ning Cheng found that when this young girl stood up, she was unexpectedly not shorter than him. Hey, there was the poisonous gas of the poisonous sand beast, how come you were not affected by it? A male cultivator who was hung up in the air called out in surprise. What is the poisonous gas of the poisonous sand beast? Ning Cheng asked in a puzzled voice. He seemed to have smelt some strange, unpleasant odor before, but under the circulation of his true essence, this unpleasant odor immediately disappeared. Could it be that this was the poisonous gas of the sand-poisoned sharp-fanged beasts? The poisonous sand beast is one of the most terrible monstrous beasts in the Thunderfall Desert. This kind of sand monstrous beasts generally live in groups. Moreover, they hide the sky and cover the earth as they move around the desert. Their mouths are filled with mucus, and their whole body is covered with sarcomas of different sizes, and looks to be only a foot long. When you see this kind of monstrous beast, you must immediately escape, otherwise you can only wait for your death. The sarcomas on the body of these monstrous beasts contain a highly toxic gas. Once you kill this monstrous beast, this highly toxic gas will be released. After a cultivator smells it, their whole body will become weak and powerless, and they will not be able to use their true essence. These monstrous beasts of North Jew tribe collect this kind of poisonous gas, because we were careless and fell into their trap. Otherwise, with just a few trifling chi-gathering cultivators, this father would have already chopped them to pieces. This male cultivator said with hatred in his voice. The man at the true condensation third level suddenly whispered in the young girl's ear, "My king, this person is most likely to have taken the antidote. This antidote should be specifically used to counter the poisonous gas of the poisonous sand beast. Perhaps it might even be the desert geocentric spring tea." Looking at this person's strong killing intent, he is absolutely not simple, and should not be any worse than me. The young girl's face had already changed, but at this moment she calmed down, and said to the other people, "Clean up, and give young Master Ning a seat." "My king." That sturdy-looking woman was eager to speak, but the young girl just waved her hand, and immediately stopped her from speaking. The few guards were very fast, and in the shortest time possible, they had already cleaned up the room. Not even a single trace of blood could be seen. "Take these 3 people away first. My North Jew tribe will have to receive some distinguished guests." The young girl casually pointed to the 2 men and the woman who were hung up and said. Not waiting for the few guards to take away the 3 people, Ning Cheng suddenly raised his hand and shot out a few wind edges. The 3 cultivators who were hung up were immediately put down by Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng casually shot out a few more wind edges, and the ropes binding them were completely broken. Haha, these few friends look somewhat familiar to me. I will have to talk about old times with them. Ning Cheng did not care about the attitude of the young girl. Many thanks to this friend for saving us, but we were all poisoned by the poisonous gas of the poisonous sand beast, and are unable to condense our true essence, so there is no way for us to help you. The 3 people separately came over to Ning Cheng to express their gratitude. Ning Cheng raised his hand and grabbed a few chairs. "Everyone please sit down. My hometown has a saying, the enemy of my enemy. No, within the 4 seas we are all brothers, there is no need to be polite." Well said, within the 4 seas we are all brothers. The thin true condensation cultivator among the 3 people clapped his hands, indicating that he agreed with Ning Cheng's words. Clap, clap. The face of the young queen at this time did not have even half a shred of anger, as she clapped her hands and said with a smile, "What young Master Ning said is very good. Within the 4 seas we are all brothers. Mei Su, you go and prepare some good wine, for today we are able to meet such a capable person like young Master Ning." The woman who was slapped twice by Ning Cheng, when she heard these words, quickly bowed and said, "Yes, Your Majesty," saying that she quickly turned around and walked out. Ning Cheng sneered in his heart. This woman called Mei Su had a storage bag on her. How could she not have some good wine? This woman went out. She was definitely going to arrange some means to trap him here. But Ning Cheng was not afraid. When he came here he already knew that there were no powerful people in this place. Even if it was an array formation formed by a Mongolian yurt, in his eyes it was just an ordinary array formation. The most powerful true condensation 3rd level cultivator was now in front of him. He was not worried about being plotted against. "This little sister, I have a request. I just met these 3 friends. But these 3 friends have been poisoned by the poisonous gas of the poisonous sand sharp-fanged beasts. I see that this little sister has a kind heart. Why don't you take out a little antidote for my 3 friends to detoxify them?" Ning Cheng cupped his fists towards the king, and said with a smile. Hearing Ning Cheng call their king little sister, the guards in the room were incomparably angry. The eyes of the young queen flashed with anger and killing intent, and then she said with an apologetic smile, "The poisonous gas of the poisonous sand sharp-fanged beasts needs the desert geocentric spring tea to detoxify them. It would be best to take it in advance. The desert geocentric spring tea is a rare treasure. It is priceless. My North Jew tribe is just a small tribe. How could we have such a precious thing? The reason why we are not poisoned is because we are in contact with this poisonous gas all year round and are already used to it. Since young Master Ning is not afraid of this poisonous gas, then presumably you have the desert geocentric spring tea. If Brother Ning is willing to take out this desert geocentric spring tea, my North Jew tribe is willing to buy it at a high price." This woman not only said that they did not have this spiritual tea, but also blocked Ning Cheng's question about how they were fine. Not to mention these, she also provoked the relationship between Ning Cheng and the 3 people that he had just saved. Her meaning was that you are not poisoned, obviously you have the antidote, you keep saying that within the 4 seas we are all brothers, how come I don't see you taking out the antidote? How could Ning Cheng not know the meaning of this woman? He was just about to speak, when he heard the female cultivator that he had just saved open her mouth and say, "Elder Brother Ning, my clothes are torn, please." When Ning Cheng heard these words, he immediately understood what she meant. He secretly cursed himself for being careless, and turned to look at the young queen. When the young girl saw Ning Cheng looking at her, she quickly said to the maid beside her, "Quickly take these 3 guests to change their clothes. Do not neglect young Master Ning's friends." Chapter 77. After the banquet was served, the 3 people who went to change their clothes had already returned to their rooms. Although the 3 of them looked normal, but their true essence was scattered, it was clear that they were just an empty shell. Ning Cheng gave a chuckle and greeted the 3 of them first. When the 3 of them saw Ning Cheng greet them, they quickly came forward to thank him. Ning Cheng also knew the names of the 3 people. The one with a fiery temper, medium build, dark skin was a male cultivator called Lu Hongfang, and had the cultivation of true condensation 2nd level. The other male cultivator was called Huang Yuan Bo, with slender eyes and fair skin, but only had the cultivation of true condensation 1st level. The woman was called Pei Shan. She looked somewhat quiet, she had an oval face, her eyes did not even have half a flicker, she seemed to be very opinionated. After the 3 of them sat down, Ning Cheng asked, "Are the 3 of you really poisoned by the poisonous gas of the poisonous sand beast?" Lu Hongfang glared at the young girl and said in a low voice, "That's right, we were plotted against by this woman. Is there a way to get rid of the poisonous gas?" Ning Cheng knew that these cultivators who walked in the desert all year round would have a variety of methods. Although he had no way to get rid of the poisonous gas, it did not mean that others would not be able to. Pei Shan might have injured her throat, as her voice was somewhat hoarse. When she heard Ning Cheng's words, she took the initiative to reply, "The poisonous gas of the poisonous sand beast is very difficult to get rid of." She did not lie about it. Only the desert geocentric spring tea can detoxify it. Because the desert geocentric spring tea is very difficult to find, so once you meet a poisonous sand beast in the Thunderfall Desert, you will not fight, and will generally take the initiative to escape. Huang Yuan Bo looked at the frowning Ning Cheng and said, "The amount of desert geocentric spring tea needed to detoxify the poisonous gas of the poisonous sand beast is not much, just a drop would be enough." Ning Cheng bowed his head and frowned. He was thinking about when he had drunk the desert geocentric spring tea. How could he not be afraid of the poisonous gas, and did not care about Huang Yuan Bo's words? Lu Hongfang and Pei Shan also did not care about Huang Yuan Bo's words. Only the young queen's mouth showed a hint of a smile. Apparently she knew that the seed that she had planted had already sprouted. At least this Huang Yuan Bo thought that Ning Cheng had the geocentric spring tea. At this time, Ning Cheng had already thought of the place where he had drunk the spiritual tea. It was at the Yi Shui courtyard, where Lu Hanyu had poured him a cup of spiritual tea. It was slightly bitter, But it immediately made people salivate, making people feel a bit nostalgic. Could it be that it was the desert geocentric spring tea? Lu Hanyu was just a destitute woman. How could she possibly have such a precious spirit tea? Could it be that Brother Ning is also passing through the Thunder Fall Desert? Lu Hongfang's temperament was more direct, as he immediately interrupted Ning Cheng's thoughts. Exactly. Ning Cheng remembered what he had wanted to ask before. What was this North Ju tribe? He did not know, but Lu Hongfang and the other two people were definitely like him. They were definitely people who could pass through the desert. These people might also have a map. How did the three of you end up here? Could it be that you are also the same as me, and want to pass through the Thunderfall Desert to reach the Hua continent? Ning Cheng also directly asked. When the young queen saw that these people did not even put her in their eyes, her complexion turned slightly ugly, but she soon recovered to normal. She took the initiative to take out the wine pot and poured a cup of wine for Ning Cheng and said, "On behalf of the North Ju tribe, I would like to thank young Master Ning for coming to my North Ju tribe's encampment as a guest." When Lu Hongfang saw Ning Cheng pick up the wine cup, his face immediately turned anxious. He was just about to speak, but Ning Cheng had already drank the cup of wine. Ning Cheng certainly knew that Lu Hongfang was afraid that the wine was poisoned, but now that the lives of the three of them were tied to his hands, it was normal for Lu Hongfang to be anxious. Ning Cheng was now extremely careful, as he had already checked the cup of wine once. Seeing that Ning Cheng was all right, Lu Hongfang felt relieved in his heart, and said aloud, "The three of us really wanted to go to the Hua continent. Originally there were 5 of us, but 2 of us fell on the way. Just a day ago, we inadvertently obtained a treasure map. The treasure map turned out to be the ruins of the Lan Yi country that had disappeared countless of years ago in the Thunder Fall Desert. The 3 of us were overjoyed, and wanted to find the ruins of the Lan Yi country, but did not think that we would be led here by these despicable people." Saying that, Lu Hongfang still had an angry look on his face as he stared at the young queen. The young queen said in a neither fast nor slow manner, "Young Master Ning, what Brother Lu said is indeed true. He had obtained the map from a trader of my North Ju tribe. This map is indeed the ruins of the Lan Yi country, but you may not know this, but my North Ju tribe was once the Lan Yi country. When the Lan Yi country was destroyed, there were a few elders who protected the blood of the country and fled to the North Ju tribe, leaving behind my branch. Now that some people want to go to my Lan Yi country to excavate the ruins, as the king of the North Ju tribe, how can I let the things of my Lan Yi country fall into the hands of others? Not to mention that the treasure map that they obtained was also leaked out from my North Ju tribe." Lu Hongfang pointed at the young queen and laughed. "It was your North Ju tribe that leaked it out, bah. Do you still have any face?" Not to mention that the North Ju tribe was not something that was left behind by the Lan Yi country. Even if it was, the Lan Yi country does not have the right to say that it was theirs. The reason why the Lan Yi country chose to establish their country in the desert was not because of the desert, but because the Lan Yi country found the ruins of a sea-opening realm powerhouse in the desert. The Lan Yi country, in order to find the ruins of the sea-opening realm powerhouse, chose to establish a country in the Thunder Fall Desert. But they did not expect that the Lan Yi country, after establishing their country in the desert, would instead promote the prosperity of the country. I do not know if they found the ruins of the sea-opening realm, but the Lan Yi country is becoming more and more prosperous. Ning Cheng really could not believe that a country could be established in the Thunderfall Desert. The Thunderfall Desert was a terrible place. He had personally experienced it. Seeing Ning Cheng's doubts, Shi Pei Shan took the initiative and said, "Elder Brother Ning, what Elder Brother Lu said is true. The Lan Yi country was established in the desert countless years ago. Originally the Lan Yi country was established on the edge of the desert, but after many years of vicissitudes, the erosion of the Thunderfall Desert became more and more severe, causing the desert to become bigger and bigger. Originally the Lan Yi country was established on the edge of the Thunderfall Desert, but after many years of vicissitudes, the erosion of the Thunderfall Desert became more and more severe, causing the desert to become bigger and bigger. Because of this, it led to the destruction of the Lan Yi country." Huang Yuanbo, who rarely spoke after listening to Shi Pei Shan's words, explained, "I heard that the Lan Yi country was not destroyed because of the lightning in the Thunderfall Desert, but because the Lan Yi country found the ruins of the sea-opening realm powerhouse, and as a result attracted many experts from all over the world. These powerful experts fought in the Lan-E country, and as a result caused the destruction of the entire Lan-E country. Later on in the Thunderfall Desert, the most powerful yellow dragon passed through, and all the cultivators who were fighting, as well as all the people from the Lan-E country disappeared. Because of this, the Lan-E country also disappeared in the vast sea of sand. Yellow dragon? When Ning Cheng heard these two words, he immediately thought of the yellow sand that had swept him away. Afterwards he had used his fist axe filled with killing intent to break through the yellow sand, and only then was he able to escape. Lu Hongfang replied, "That's right, in the Thunderfall Desert, in addition to the fearful poisonous sand beasts, there is also the Thunderfall Yellow Dragon. This kind of yellow dragon looks like a sand dragon that was formed by the sand. Once you are caught in it, it would be very difficult to escape, and would eventually be torn into pieces by the yellow dragon. This is only a small Thunderfall yellow dragon. The biggest yellow dragon is said to be thousands of miles long. If you meet this kind of yellow dragon, then even if it was a country, I estimate that it would only be swallowed up." Ning Cheng understood that what had swept him away should be a small yellow dragon. If it was a big one, then perhaps he would not have been able to escape. What Ning Cheng was most interested in at this time was the immortal cave of a sea-opening realm cultivator. He was no longer a young boy who had just arrived here. He was very clear in his heart that the cultivation of a cultivator was the same as the competition in the business world. Once you discover a limited amount of resources, if you do not fight for them, then these resources would be snatched away by others, and you could only helplessly watch the other people continue to advance and leave you behind. In the Yixing mainland's 9 great realms, the sea-opening realm was just below the Crucible Transformation realm. Once you stepped into the Crucible Transformation realm, then according to the legends, you would be able to tear apart the heaven and earth and escape far away. Of course, this knowledge Ning Cheng came to know from the mouth of Tai Shui. When he came out from the Ping continent, he only knew that above the essence-building realm was the profound congealing realm, and above the profound congealing realm was the profound core realm. As for the realms after the profound core realm, he knew nothing about it. After arriving at the Yuan continent and talking with Tai Shui, he came to know that after the profound core realm was the soul essence realm, after the soul essence realm was the soul sculpting realm, after passing through the soul sculpting realm was the sea opening realm. From this it could be seen that the immortal cave of a sea opening realm powerhouse was extremely precious. Lu Hongfang had said that the Lan-E True country, in order to obtain a sea-opening realm's immortal cave, had established a country in the Thunderfall Desert. Ning Cheng did not find it strange at all. Ning Cheng suddenly looked at the young queen and spoke, "Your Majesty, I think that the secret map obtained by Brother Lu should be with you, right? Can you take it out and let me see what kind of secret map it is?" The young queen's complexion slightly changed. She knew that Ning Cheng would want the map of the Lan-E country's ruins, but she did not think that Ning Cheng would be so straightforward. If Ning Cheng tried to beat around the bush, she would definitely come up with a variety of excuses. The man at the true condensation 3rd level who was standing next to the young queen laughed and said, "Mr. Ning, our Wang Shangjing is a guest of our North Jew tribe. For you to come to our North Jew tribe encampment can be considered as a kind of fate. We entertain young Master Ning with good wine and good food, but young Master Ning actually dares to openly ask for my North Jew tribe's secret map. Could it be that you really think that my North Jew tribe is easy to bully? You have a map of the North Jew Empire? This map was obviously taken from me by you, and you still have the face to say that it is your North Jew kingdom's map?" Lu Hongfang said in a sarcastic tone. At this moment, a burst of hurried footsteps rushed in. Ning Cheng was slightly puzzled in his heart, who had such a big courage, and dared to directly rush into the yurt of the North Jew tribe's king? The one who came in was a young man, with thick eyebrows and thin eyes, and a hooked nose which made his face look extremely unique. Ning Cheng could see at a glance that this young man's cultivation level was actually the highest here, with the cultivation level of true condensation 4th level. "Xiu Xiu." This hooked-nosed man called out, but when he saw Ning Cheng and the others, he did not finish his words. Calling the North Jew tribe's king Xiu Xiu, it seems that the relationship between this hooked-nosed man and this king was not simple at all. "Yes, we have found the secret map. so I sent a signal to call you over. The young queen called Xiao Xiao said with a smile. The hooked-nosed man's gaze fell on Ning Cheng and the others. He did not know who Ning Cheng and the others were, but Xiao Xiao unexpectedly directly spoke about the secret map in front of them. Chapter 78. Who are they? The aquiline-nosed man's eyes swept over Ning Cheng and the others. Xiao Xiao smiled and pointed at Ning Cheng and said, "This is Ning Xiao Cheng." Yuxing said that this young Master Ning has an astonishing cultivation level. Even a true condensation cultivator would not be his opponent. Ning Cheng suddenly stood up and cupped his fists towards this hook-nosed man, and said with a smile, "I have not yet asked this friend for your surname?" North Jew's Pei Guang He, elder brother Ning is truly amazing. I would like to get closer to you in the future. The aquiline-nosed man cupped his fists towards Ning Cheng with a fake smile on his face. Ning Cheng did not wait for Xiao Xiao to speak again and continued, "These three are my friends, and are also the ones who found the map of the ruins of the Lan Yi country. However, they were accidentally poisoned by the poisonous gas of the poisonous sand beasts in the desert. King Xiao Xiao was about to help them detoxify the poison. Oh yes, I don't know if Brother Pei has any desert geocentric spring tea that can detoxify poison. If there is, that would be the best." Pei Guang He did not take out the antidote because of Ning Cheng's abrupt words, but rather looked at Xiao Xiao with a puzzled gaze. Xiao Xiao did not directly give an answer, but let everyone sit down again and then said, "Lu Hongfang and the other two really did obtain the map of the ruins, and also gave it to me. But this map was lost by my North Jew tribe, so my idea is, since everyone has gathered together because of this map, why don't we go to the ruins together to look for it?" Pei Guang He's arrival made this young queen's heart calm down. No matter how powerful Ning Cheng was, he was only a single person. Now that Pei Guang He and Yuxing were the two of them, they could definitely deal with Ning Cheng. As for Pei Guang He's strength, she was very clear about it. It was also because of this that she changed her mind. She might as well drag these people along to search for the ruins. Even if something were to happen, he could still find a few cannon fodder. Pei Guang He and Xiao Xiao's eyes met, and immediately understood the thoughts of the young queen, as he laughed and said, "That's right, there are many things in the ruins. We won't be able to take it. If we all go together, we'll be stronger." Just as he finished speaking, Mei Su, who had been sent out by the young girl, came in from the side. Mei Su whispered a few words into the young girl's ear. Xiao Xiao nodded and didn't express any opinion. As Ning Cheng swept out with his spiritual sense, he found that within the range of his spiritual sense, many soldiers had appeared. Not only that, but he also set up some simple trapping arrays. Ning Cheng found it funny in his heart. This was just a level 1 entrapment array, and they even dared to show off in front of him. Lu Hongfang suddenly said in a loud voice, "If you want to go to the ruins together, then there is no problem. But first we need to get rid of the poison in our bodies." Pei Guang He suddenly said, "This is my negligence. I originally wanted to help you detoxify the poison as soon as I came in, but because we were talking about something else, I actually forgot. Even if the few of you do not want to go together with me, but since the few of you were able to find the map of my Lan Yi country, I will definitely help you." While speaking, Pei Guang He really took out 3 jade cups, then took out a gray gourd, and poured a little green tea into the 3 jade cups. "3 friends, please have the desert geocentric spring tea." Hearing Pei Guang He say that this was geocentric spring tea, Lu Hongfang was the first to pick up the cup and drink it in one gulp. Seeing Lu Hongfang drink his tea, Huang Yuanbo and Shi Pei Shan also drank their tea without hesitation. After a moment, Lu Hongfang laughed and said, "Thank you, Brother Pei, the poison in my body has really been cured. Count me, Lu Hongfang, in the ruins, I will not shrink back." Huang Yuanbo also cupped his fists towards Pei Guang He to show his gratitude. Only Shi Pei Shan did not thank Pei Guang He, but cupped her fists towards Ning Cheng and said, "Thank you, Brother Ning, for saving our lives." Lu Hongfang, on hearing Shi Pei Shan's words, patted his head and said, "It was my fault, I should thank Brother Ning." Saying that, he also expressed his gratitude towards Ning Cheng. Huang Yuanbo, on seeing this, also expressed his gratitude towards Ning Cheng. But Ning Cheng felt that Huang Yuanbo's gratitude was somewhat perfunctory, although Lu Hongfang did not think of it in the first place, but his gratitude towards him was quite sincere. Good, the poison in the three of you has been cured, I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Now let's discuss how to go to the ruins of the Lan country. The young queen seemed to be really relieved as she stood up and said. Saying that, she once again put a leather scroll into the hands of Pei Guanghe. That is the map. Shi Pei Shan, on seeing this, whispered a few words in Ning Cheng's ear. Pei Guanghe seemed to have heard Shi Pei Shan's words, as he glanced at the map once, and then handed it to Ning Cheng. Brother Ning, would you like me to put this map in your hands? Ning Cheng took the map and also casually glanced at it, and once again returned the map and said, Brother Pei is the owner, this map of the ruins should be placed in the hands of Brother Pei. But Xiao looked at Ning Cheng with a puzzled expression. Ning Cheng had wanted this map before, why did he suddenly not want the map? To say that Ning Cheng with just a glance was able to remember all the routes and contents of the map, she absolutely did not believe it. A cultivator could use their spiritual sense so they could sweep the entire map with just a glance, but sweeping it once and remembering it completely were two different things. Why don't you put it in my hands? Lu Hongfang had a good impression of Ning Cheng, but he did not like Ning Cheng's way of doing things. Since other people have already given you the map, why would you refuse? All right. Pei Guanghe did not hesitate to put the map in Lu Hongfang's hands, and simultaneously stood up and said to Xiao, let's go now. If we know about this map of the ruins, and do not rush there in time, I am afraid that something unexpected will happen. Xiao showed a faint smile and said, what Guanghe said is right, let's go now. There are 8 people, me and Guanghe, plus Yu Xing and Mei Su. Then young Master Ning and Brother Lu. This time this young queen finally called him Brother Lu, and did not continue to directly call him by his name. Since the map is in the hands of Brother Lu, then Brother Lu can lead the way. Pei Guanghe said with a smile. No problem. Lu Hongfang directly took the lead and walked out of the room. The rest of the people followed him out, while Ning Cheng followed behind Pei Guanghe. Perhaps it was because of the arrival of Pei Guanghe, or perhaps it was because Ning Cheng and the others wanted to help them explore the ruins, but Xiao did not activate the entrapment array outside. After going out of the range of the yurts, Lu Hongfang sped up, and soon left the yurts and the oasis behind him. Ning Cheng and the others silently followed behind Lu Hongfang. Not a single one of them spoke. That young queen called Xiao unexpectedly did not ask for more people to follow her, or perhaps she knew that even if there were more people, searching for the ruins would not be of much use. I do not know how far is the North Jew tribe from here? For the North Jew tribe to come here, did they already know that there is an oasis here? After the 8 people walked for nearly an hour, Ning Cheng took the initiative to break the silence. The young girl Xiao smiled, and did not beat around the bush, and directly said, the North Jew tribe is only known to the people of my North Jew tribe. If young Master Ning wants to go to my North Jew tribe, then you can also join my North Jew tribe. Ning Cheng said unhurriedly, joining the North Jew tribe is not a problem, but I have a matter to ask Queen Xiao. I do not know if your clan has a map to the Hua continent? This time Xiao did not even think for half a moment, and bluntly said, I do not. Shi Pei Shan, who was walking beside Ning Cheng, said, Brother Ning, the map to the Thunderfall Desert is something that very few people would have. But when walking in the Thunderfall Desert, there is a rule, and that is that there are often desert whirlpools in the Thunderfall Desert. These desert whirlpools will often swirl the yellow sand in a certain direction. As long as you walk in that direction, you will be able to walk in it. Many thanks. Ning Cheng thanked Shi Pei Shan, and did not speak any more. Since they did not agree with each other, it would be useless to say anything more. After an hour passed by, Lu Hongfang stopped. He pointed to a huge sand pit in front of him and said, We're here, it's right here. Ning Cheng had looked at the map once, and already knew how to go to the ruins. According to the marks on the map, when they arrived at the entrance to the ruins, they would see a huge sand pit. At night, when the moonlight shines on the sand pit, there would appear 3 overlapping moon shadows. From these 3 overlapping moon shadows, one would be able to find the entrance to the ruins of the Lan country. There were many sand pits in the desert, but most of the sand pits would be filled with sand and stones after a period of time. Since the map of the ruins did not say that the sand pit would be filled with sand and stones, it showed that the sand pit would not disappear for no reason. Now that there really was a sand pit here, it showed that the map was real. Now before the moonlight appears, there is still about an hour left. I suggest that everyone take a look at the map. Huang Yuanbo suddenly said. The few people from the North Jew tribe had already seen the map, but they simply looked at it and made this suggestion. Of course. Lu Hongfang took the initiative to hand the map to Huang Yuanbo and did not even ask for Xiao Xiao's opinion. Huang Yuanbo did not refuse and repeatedly looked at the map several times and then handed it to Shi Pei Shan. Shi Pei Shan looked at the map several times and then handed it to Mei Su. Mei Su did not seem to want to give the map to Ning Cheng and repeatedly looked at it in her hands. It was not until the moonlight rose that she seemed to remember that the map was still in her hands. Mei Su, give the map to Brother Lu. Brother Lu still has to lead the way. Xiao Xiao looked at Mei Su with some dissatisfaction. Mei Su seemed to suddenly understand this map had been in her hands for too long and quickly handed the map to Lu Hongfang. Lu Hongfang did not care about it and just pointed to the sand pit where the 3 moon shadows overlapped and said, I'll go down first, everyone just follow me. Saying that, he directly jumped to the place where the moon shadows overlapped. Lu Hongfang had just jumped to the place where the moon shadows overlapped when he disappeared, but the place where the moon shadows overlapped was still there and did not change even half a bit. It was as if Lu Hongfang had jumped into a pond and had yet to emerge from it. Chapter 79. The Blue Sand City is indeed the capital city of the Lan Yi country. Originally, the Lan Yi country had a huge defensive array formation, but I did not think that after so many years, the sand and stones were still unable to completely bury the Lan Yi country. It can be seen that this huge defensive array formation is still working. Xiao Xiao looked at the blue sand city in front of her and spoke in a faint voice. I think there is indeed something strange about this place. Everyone should be careful of each other. What does Brother Ning think? Pei Guang he looked at Ning Cheng and spoke. His meaning was very obvious. He did not want everyone to go back and look for Huang Yuanbo. Dry bones are everywhere in this place. What is there to make a fuss about? Mei Su, the woman who had been slapped twice by Ning Cheng, spoke with disdain. Mei Su took a step forward and disappeared from everyone's sight. Seeing Ning Cheng go in, Shi Pei Shan quickly followed him in. Huang Yuanbo glanced at the bloodstains on the ground, but did not feel surprised and followed them in. In terms of credibility, Pei Guanghe's words were more reasonable. But Ning Cheng felt that the words spoken by Pei Guanghe were not completely correct. If what Pei Guanghe said was true, then this place should be under the desert. No one came to the desert all year round, so it should be humid and musty. In fact, when he entered, he didn't smell any of these scents at all. There was even a slight breeze blowing past. Originally, the 8 of them were carefully walking on the street, each of them on guard, but when did Huang Yuanbo disappear, none of them knew. It seemed that Shi Pei Shan had ridiculed her, which made her very unhappy, so Mei Su said to the young girl, Xiao Xiao, Your Majesty, I will go in and have a look. After a while, they suddenly heard Mei Su's surprised voice, Magic tool, blood. This time, it was Mei Su who screamed. Everyone was attracted by Mei Su's scream. When they looked over, they realized why Mei Su was screaming. A large pool of blood flowed out from the bottom of a tightly shut door. In just a blink of an eye, the 5 people disappeared from Ning Cheng and Shi Pei Shan's eyes, just like drops of water falling into the sea. Dry bones. Shi Pei Shan, who had been walking beside Ning Cheng, suddenly called out. She happened to be stepping on a skull. Moreover, this skull was very sturdy. How could there be blood in an underground ruin like this? Even if there was, it would have dried up. How could there be such a large amount of water flowing out? Shi Pei Shan smiled. I'm not afraid of death. Since I'm looking for opportunities, I can't be afraid of death. I just think that following Brother Ning would give me a better chance. The vicissitudes of Blue Sand City could not be faked no matter what. This could only be seen through time. Ning Cheng also had some doubts that the wind that he had felt before was just an illusion. The rest of them did not hesitate and jumped down one after another. Ning Cheng landed on top of the overlapping moon shadows and immediately felt a huge whirlpool coming towards him. He simply did not need to use any earth escaping technique, as he was directly taken away by it. When Lu Hongfang heard Mei Su speak about artifacts, he immediately took a step inside. Pei Guanghe, Xiao Xiao, and Yu Xing immediately followed. Lu Hongfang suddenly punched the tightly closed door. He felt a little oppressive. This kind of method could let his oppressive feeling be immediately blasted out. Isn't it just a little blood? What's the fuss? Shi Pei Shan suddenly said in a sarcastic tone. Apparently because Mei Su had ridiculed her before, she was extremely uncomfortable in her heart. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, Lu Hongfang stopped in front of an ancient city gate. Half of the city wall had already collapsed. A few mottled words could be vaguely seen in the light of the clear light stone, Blue Sand City. Her voice had just fallen when she heard a crash sound. A shop that looked like it was still intact immediately turned into powder. This street seemed to be endless. After an hour, the crowd followed the street and turned a few big corners, but the street still did not have an end. Whether it is true or not, since we are already here, we must go and have a look. Lu Hongfang said, and took the lead to walk along the passage. Since we are already here, why should we shrink back? I'll go in first. Lu Hongfang said, and took the lead to walk through the Blue Sand City's gate. This was definitely a transmission array. Ning Cheng had just thought of this when he stepped on the ground. This is the ruins of the Lan Yi country. The Blue Sand City is the capital of the Lan Yi country. Lu Hongfang said with a slightly excited tone. At a glance, one could not see the end of the passage, and it was more than 3 or 4 feet wide. On both sides of the passage were walls that could not be seen, and the walls were inlaid with a row of clear light stones that were already somewhat dim. Under their feet was a rugged and winding trail, which extended into the distance. After entering the city gate, a kind of rotten and withered aura hit them in the face, but the few of them were instead relieved. If this was the location of the ruins of the Lani country, then this kind of aura was definitely the aura of the ruins. Pei Guang, he said indifferently, this is not necessarily true. There are some desert faults in the depths of the desert. If the Blue Sand City is separated by these faults, then even if there is no defensive array formation, it would not be covered up by the sand and stones. It really is a very old place. Even a little sound can turn this shop into powder. Pei Guang, he said with a sigh. Ning Cheng was just about to speak when he heard a burst of rapid footsteps, and then he and Shi Pei Shan saw Huang Yuanbo rushing over. Huang Yuanbo's face was pale, and he looked incomparably flustered. After he saw Ning Cheng and Shi Pei Shan, he seemed to be relieved, and quickly came to the front as he gasped for breath and said, "That was close. If I did not know a little about array formations, then I certainly would not have been able to come out." The blood that had flowed outside was flowing out from the foot of the wall of the main hall. These bloodstains seemed to have formed into a never-ending stream. Ning Cheng wanted to use his spiritual sense to sweep inside, but found that after his spiritual sense entered the main hall, it immediately disappeared without a trace. Ning Cheng showed a faint smile and said, "Brother Pei's opinion is very good. Of course we will listen to Brother Pei's opinion." His words did not have even half a shred of intention to go back and look for Huang Yuanbo. Huang Yuanbo said with some fear, "I did not dare to step into an array formation, and wandered around inside for a long time, before I finally found the array entrance. Hey, where are the others?" The damaged materials of the shop were thrown everywhere on the streets. Coupled with the falling yellow sand, it made the streets not look empty, but it was not crowded, rather it gave off a kind of strange desolation. This should not be the ruins of a real country. The ruins of a real country should not have such obvious artificial traces. Xiao Xiao's true condensation realm bodyguard Yu Xing was the first to speak. Yu Xing was the second to walk in. The rest of the people did not hesitate, and entered the city gate one after another. Ning Cheng also entered the Blue Sand City's city gate. The few people did not speak again. The entire street was filled with only the sound of their footsteps. Along the way there were countless skeletons and skeletons, but everyone was already used to it, and no one felt that something was wrong. "You be careful." After Xiao Xiao exhorted, she did not stop Mei Su's actions. The inside of the gate was gloomy, it seemed to have a gloomy and cold aura. After a while, everyone adapted to the light and could clearly see the situation inside the gate. It was a main hall. The main hall was surrounded by many vague chairs. It seemed to be a place for a meeting. Going further inside, they could not see clearly. Pei Shan did not understand why Ning Cheng suddenly asked about Huang Yuanbo. She slightly hesitated and said, Huang Yuanbo is a disciple of the Yuan continent's Blue Flame 4-Star Academy. The reason why we want to pull him into our team is because he has a very good understanding of array formations. Although he does not talk much, but he is a good person. Big Sister Shi, why are you not going in? Ning Cheng looked at Pei Shan at his side and asked in a puzzled manner. Several people simultaneously landed in a place. Ning Cheng's eyes had already sized up the surroundings. Rather than saying that they were under the desert, it would be better to say that they were in a sealed passage. Squeak! A sound was heard. It seemed that the door was not opened by Lu Hongfang, but rather by him. Originally, Lu Hongfang wanted to punch open the door and then directly pass through it. Now that the door was squeaking, it actually made his heart beat like a drum. Ning Cheng suddenly changed the topic and asked, How much do you know about Huang Yuanbo? What the hell is going on? Pei Shan quickly asked. He even suspected that Pei Guang he also understood this point, and his words just a moment ago were somewhat trying to cover it up. Huang Yuanbo has disappeared. Pei Shan, who was at Ning Cheng's side, suddenly exclaimed. Everyone immediately stopped. Only then did they discover that Huang Yuanbo had really disappeared. As the footsteps of the several people stepped on the street, the various strange things that were left on the street all turned into dust. Everyone has entered the main hall, let's also go in. Ning Cheng pointed to the dark main hall in front of him and said. Saying that, he took the lead and walked into the main hall. Pei Guang he disapprovingly said, Initially my North Jew country also had a few elders who were not implicated by the catastrophe of the Lani country, and later on a few elders must have come here. Maybe they found the ruins of the Lan-E country, but because they did not obtain anything else, they opened up this place so that the later generations could find the Lan-E country more easily. Otherwise, where did our map come from? Ning Cheng frowned. He once again felt that something was wrong. This shop had turned into dust. It was very strange. It was reasonable to say that the smell of decay in this powder was even heavier, but in fact, he was not even aware of this kind of smell of decay. Or rather, the smell of decay was still formed on the street. Chapter 80. After the Ning Cheng trio entered the main hall, they immediately saw the 5 people who were already in the main hall. Not only could they see them, but they could also see them very clearly. From the outside of the main hall looked dim. They did not expect that after entering the main hall, they would immediately be able to see the surrounding scene. Brother Huang, you're all right, that's great. Lu Hongfang saw Huang Yuanbo also come in and happily greeted him. Ning Cheng could clearly see, in the innermost part of the main hall, there was an altar table, and on the altar table were 3 artifacts. In the middle was a black ring, on the left was a very ordinary-looking flying sword, and on the right was a knife-shaped artifact. On the left and right sides of the altar table, there was a small door. Why don't you take the artifacts here? Pei Shan looked at the 5 people who came in and asked in a puzzled manner. Ning Cheng looked back. After entering the main hall, he could not see anything outside the main hall. You can't take it. A moment ago I took it, and was almost seriously injured. There is an array formation in front of the altar table. Once you approach it, you will immediately be attacked by the array formation. Oh yes, Brother Huang, you came at the right time. You are an array formation master. Can you take a look at how to break this array formation? Lu Hongfang said as he looked at Huang Yuanbo. Huang Yuanbo shook his head. My array formation level is limited, I can't see it. Ning Cheng could not see what kind of array formation it was, but he could see that it was not an altar table, but rather an altar. Pei Guang he looked at Ning Cheng and smiled and said, Brother Ning, there is a small door on the left and right side of the altar table. Why don't the 8 of us divide into 2 groups and go through the small door? As for the artifacts on the altar table, no one will come in to take them. Ning Cheng immediately replied, Of course, I will go through the door on the left, whoever wants to come in with me can follow me. Saying that, Ning Cheng walked towards the small door on the left, and soon disappeared through the door. I'll go with Brother Ning. Huang Yuanbo immediately followed Ning Cheng. Shi Pei Shan and Lu Hongfang, seeing this, also followed. Everyone did not need to say anything. The 8 people were clearly divided into 2 groups. Xiao, this artifact is fake. Pei Guang, he saw the 4 people enter the small door, and immediately said. Xiao nodded. Apparently she already knew that this artifact was fake. How could this be fake? If it's fake, why do you need to use a formation to control it? Mei Su asked in confusion. Pei Guang, he sneered, not only me and King Swan she can see that this artifact is fake, I think that Ning Shaoqing should also be able to see that this artifact is fake. Mei Su froze for a moment and subconsciously said, so that's how it is. Your Majesty, if those 4 people went in first, would they have taken away the good things? This is the ruins of our Lani country. If I do not let them in, then they absolutely will not be able to come in. Mei Su, you can rest assured. Let's go. Xiao calmly said. Pei Guanghe looked at Mei Su with pity. This place required a blood sacrifice to open. If Ning Cheng's group of 4 were to go together, then there would definitely be someone who would need to be used as a blood sacrifice. As for the 4 people on their side, of course, one of them would also need to be used as a blood sacrifice. Needless to say, the person to be sacrificed should be Mei Su. Yu Xing acted as if he didn't know anything and was still closely following Xiao. He was always paying attention to the surroundings. After Ning Cheng's group of 4 entered the small door, they found themselves in front of 6 dark passages. Moreover, no one knew which passage they should go through. Huang Yuanbo pointed to the second passage on the left and said, I know a few array formations. Looking at the layout of the surroundings, we should go through the second passage. Finished speaking, Huang Yuanbo took the lead and walked in. The Ning Cheng trio did not have any objections, and also followed. Elder Brother Ning, I always felt that Xiao was not a good person. She not only detoxified the poison in the 3 of us, but also let us look for these ruins together. Is she really that good? At this moment there were only 4 people left in this dark passage. Shi Pei Shan finally said what she wanted to say. Huang Yuanbo also gave an N sound, and came forward and said, I have had this suspicion for a long time, but I just could not find. Huang Yuanbo had only spoken half of his words, when his hand suddenly emitted a white light. This white light directly chopped towards Ning Cheng's waist. It was as fast as lightning. Almost at the same time, Ning Cheng also blasted out a punch. The strong killing intent of the axe fist went straight towards Huang Yuanbo's legs. This white light and the killing intent of the axe fist immediately filled the entire passage, causing the passage to shake with a rumbling sound. Bang! A muffled sound was heard. Huang Yuanbo's white light directly exploded on Ning Cheng's waist. It was followed by 2 sounds of blood spurting out. Ning Cheng's axe fist had already chopped on Huang Yuanbo's knees. Huang Yuanbo's legs immediately fell from his body. But when the white light fell on Ning Cheng's body, it did not have any effect. Lu Hongfang and Shi Pei Shan stared at Ning Cheng and Huang Yuanbo in shock. They did not understand what was going on. How did you know that I was going to sneak attack you? Huang Yuanbo's face was somewhat distorted as he shouted. You secretly left the team. When we were arranging the array formations on the way back, I already knew who you were going to plot against, but I did not think that you would plot against me. This kind of good person really cannot be. I saved your dog life, but you still want to kill me in return. Ning Cheng said in a cold voice. Huang Yuanbo said with a pale face, I really hate you. I should have sneak attacked your legs. He not only hated that he had sneak attacked the wrong place, but also hated that he should not have been so careless. If not for this Ning Shaoqing sneak attacking his legs, he would have been able to fight with the opposite party. Who knew that this guy also had an artifact armor? If not for this artifact armor, he would have already cut off Ning Shaoqing's waist. Ning Cheng calmly said, You have nothing to hate, because I would only let you sneak attack my waist. The implication was, if he did not let you sneak attack him, then you would not even be able to cut his waist. Huang Yuanbo suddenly stared at Lu Hongfang and Shi Pei Shan and once again said in a stern voice, Lu Hongfang, Sherpei Shan, the two of you attack him together. As long as the three of us join hands, he absolutely would not be able to get away with it. Do you think that he saved us? He definitely has the desert geocentric spring tea on him, but he did not take it out. Sherpei Shan frowned. Huang Yuanbo, it is not your first day coming out. Whether or not Brother Ning has the desert geocentric spring tea on him, we are all saved by him. Moreover, now that the poisonous gas from the poisonous sand beast has been removed, why would you still attack Brother Ning? Removed? Ha! Huang Yuanbo laughed miserably. If it was removed, this father would have already left. Why would I wait until now? The poisonous gas was only temporarily suppressed by Pei Guanghe. Can you see if your dantian is not able to flow smoothly? Although Huang Yuanbo's cultivation was the lowest, but he was a person from a 4-star academy and was very knowledgeable. Sherpei Shan and Lu Hongfang immediately tried it and immediately understood that Huang Yuanbo's words were not wrong. Their poison was only temporarily suppressed, but was not removed. Seeing the two people's faces change, Huang Yuanbo cried out in a mournful voice. Ning Xiaocheng is not afraid of the poisonous gas from the poisonous sand beast. Would you believe that he did not have the desert geocentric spring tea? Taking a step back, even if he did not have the desert geocentric spring tea on him, he had drunk the desert geocentric spring tea, so his blood can be used to detoxify the poison. Huang Yuanbo's voice was getting smaller and smaller. Lu Hongfang and Sherpei Shan suddenly turned silent. The two of them looked at Ning Cheng and did not speak. Lu Hongfang was thinking about whether or not to start, but Sherpei Shan was thinking about why Ning Cheng did not explain anything. Ning Cheng sighed in his heart. If he really had the geocentric spring tea, then he really would not be stingy, but he did not have such a thing. Asking him to use his blood to save these two people, he was not that noble. No one noticed, but Huang Yuanbo's body gradually shriveled up. The blood on his body also slowly seeped into the ground and disappeared. Boom boom. A burst of roaring sound suddenly resounded from the side of the passage, and the front of the passage suddenly lit up. Ning Cheng was not interested in continuing to team up with these two people. His figure turned into a shadow and disappeared from the front of the passage. Why did you not start? I think that Ning Xiaocheng's cultivation is at most at the qi gathering first level. Lu Hongfang stared at Sherpei Shan and asked in a deep voice. Sherpei Shan coldly glanced at Lu Hongfang and said, I really hesitated a moment, but I think that Ning Xiaocheng certainly does not have the geocentric spring tea on him. If he had it, he would have already taken it out. But Lu Hongfang had only spoken 2 words when he was interrupted by Sherpei Shan. The antidote to the poison, I will find it myself. Let me drink the blood of my savior and live. Sherpei Shan, am not able to do it. Saying that, she simply ignored Lu Hongfang, and also did not pay any attention to Huang Yuanbo, who had already turned into a skeleton on the ground and flashed away. Lu Hongfang touched his hair and muttered a sentence. It really is very difficult to do. Ning Cheng rushed out of the passage and immediately saw a bloodline. This bloodline was flowing in one direction. Unexpectedly, it was not even the slightest bit of consumption. Ning Cheng looked around. This was a very simple array formation. It looked like there were many ways to leave, but this array formation's life gate unexpectedly followed the direction of this bloodline. At this time he did not hesitate for even half a moment, and directly followed the bloodline. After the time it takes for 2 incense sticks to burn, Ning Cheng stopped. In front of him appeared a huge blood pool. This blood pool was flowing in all directions with a variety of bloodlines. Sitting directly above the blood pool was a gray-robed man. He could not see his age, but from the fluctuations coming from his body, he could tell that his cultivation level was definitely not low. Just as Ning Cheng was sizing up this gray-robed man, this gray-robed man suddenly stretched out his finger and shot out a bloodline. This bloodline fell on a distant boulder and slid down. Ning Cheng looked at the boulder. It had already been dyed a dark red. Originally, the blood that was flowing out was actually the result of this person's cultivation. He was too clever for his own good. He chose the life gate, but ended up arriving at the edge of the blood pool. Alas, I tried to reduce the difficulty as much as possible, and almost moved this blood pool out, but the people who can come here are getting fewer and fewer. It really is terrible. This gray-robed man suddenly sighed. I think that there should be a lot of maps of the Lan-E country's ruins outside, right? Ning Cheng asked in a neither fast nor slow manner. Chapter 81. There are indeed a lot of maps, but it was not me who took them out, rather it was this person who took them out. The gray-robed man said as he picked up a skeleton from the blood pool below him. Even if the skeleton was soaked in the blood, it was still completely black, but there was a faint pressure coming from it. It made Ning Cheng immediately know that this skeleton's cultivation level was definitely not low. After the gray-robed man explained to Ning Cheng in a very polite manner, he then said to himself, "You alone are not enough." He had just finished speaking, when a few wind sounds resounded, as several figures fell down. Ning Cheng saw Yu Xing and Pei Guanghe, as well as two other people that Ning Cheng did not know. One of them was already at true condensation 7th level, while the other was at true condensation 3rd level. After the few people arrived, they were just like Ning Cheng, as they looked at the blood pool and the gray-robed man sitting in the middle of the blood pool in amazement. "This is enough," the gray-robed man said as he threw out dozens of array flags and said, "Well, no one else will come. Since the few of you are able to come here, then presumably your attainments in array formations are quite good. If your attainments in array formations are good, then you are definitely a smart person. The blood of a smart person is the most suitable for me to advance. Everyone help me advance." As the gray-robed man finished, Ning Cheng suddenly felt a powerful force pulling him up. This force was pulling him into the blood pool. Ning Cheng's reaction was extremely fast. In a flash he understood what was going on. This gray-robed man originally relied on these bloodlines to flow into the blood pool to cultivate. But he did not know why, but he needed a few people to jump into the blood pool to help him cultivate. Understanding that once he entered the blood pool, he would become a raw material for the opposite party's cultivation, Ning Cheng was not willing to enter the blood pool. He did not hesitate to forcibly retreat. He wanted to get rid of this powerful pulling force. Splash! Ning Cheng saw that the true condensation 3rd level cultivator that he did not know had already jumped into the blood pool. After this person jumped into the blood pool only had a few blood bubbles, before it returned to its calm state. The true condensation 7th level cultivator suddenly shouted, "This person does not dare to find a cultivator above the essence building realm. His own cultivation level is definitely not too high. If we fight to the death, then we will have a chance to survive. If at this time we resist, then it would be impossible." Pei Guanghe also said, "This friend is right, let's do it together." While speaking, Pei Guanghe had already taken out a long sword. Yu Xing didn't even say a word as he swung his octagonal hammer. That true condensation 7th level cultivator brought out a square-shaped black seal. This black seal was the one that brought out the greatest power, as it turned into a huge boulder with a radius of half a foot, as it rumbled towards that gray-robed man. Ning Cheng controlled his body, while simultaneously bringing out a red flying sword to kill the gray-robed man. He always had some doubts about Pei Guanghe, so he still maintained vigilance against Pei Guanghe when he fought. The gray-robed man snorted coldly when he saw the four of them attacking him at the same time. He raised his skinny hands and made a grabbing motion in the void. As he made a few grabbing motions, the magic treasures that were attacking him instantly froze. "Old bastard, I'll kill you!" Yu Xing shouted and suddenly threw out another octagonal hammer. At the same time, he quickly retreated. Ning Cheng's heart skipped a beat. He felt that Yu Xing's speed of retreat was simply too fast. He had tried his best, and could only control himself to stay in the same place. How could he retreat so fast? Originally, he had thought that there was a problem with that Pei Guanghe, but now it seems that there was a problem with Yu Xing. Ning Cheng did not even think about it, and once again forcibly revolved his true essence, and forcibly pulled open the distance between him and Yu Xing. Yu Xing did not seem to notice that Ning Cheng was pulling open the distance between him and him. He suddenly brought out a white flying sword. The flying sword brought out a curtain of swords as it rumbled towards the back of that true condensation 7th level cultivator. The true condensation 7th level cultivator was trying his best to control his black seal. How could he think that someone on his side would suddenly attack him? After he understood, he subconsciously moved forward to avoid the sword curtain behind him. But he forgot that in front of him was the blood pool. When he moved aside, the pulling force immediately became stronger. It was not until this time that the true condensation 7th level cultivator reacted. He immediately opened his eyes wide. He knew that it was inevitable for him to fall into the blood pool. This person was very decisive. When he found that he could not escape from the blood pool, he simply flew towards the blood pool and spat out a mouthful of blood in the air above the blood pool. The black seal that was attacking the gray-robed man suddenly expanded. He wanted to explode his own artifact. Ning Qing immediately came to his senses. He did not hesitate to control the 7 Pleiades ice needle that was quietly attached to the red flying sword. If he did not help at this time, then when would he be able to? The gray-robed cultivator sneered, wanting to explode his own artifact to attack him. He was simply dreaming. He raised his hand and was about to bring out a shield. But he had not yet brought out his shield when he felt a thin needle piercing through his body, protecting true essence. Not good, I was sneak attacked. The gray-robed cultivator had just thought of this when the meridians in his body started to ache. A kind of icy cold chi quickly spread from his meridians to his dantian. It seemed that in just a moment his dantian would be destroyed. At this time the gray-robed cultivator did not care about the huge seal above his head that was about to explode. The true essence in his body forcibly revolved and immediately blocked Ning Cheng's 7 Pleiades ice needle. Almost at the same time that Yu Xing sneak attacked the true condensation 7th level cultivator, the true condensation 7th level cultivator rushed towards the blood pool ready to explode his artifact. Ning Qing used the 7 Pleiades ice needle to attack the gray-robed cultivator, while Pei Guang he raised his hand and shot out a talisman. Without the influence of the gray-robed cultivator, the talisman wrapped around his body, and in a twinkling of an eye he disappeared from the surroundings of the blood pool. He had to say that Pei Guang he's timing was just right, not half a breath more, not half a breath less. If it was given to other people, even if they had this kind of talisman, very few people would be able to grasp the timing like Pei Guang he. Splash! The true condensation 7th level cultivator was finally unable to control his body and fell into the blood pool. The blood pool was once again filled with blood bubbles. Bang! A loud explosion sounded as the black seal suddenly exploded. The formidable explosive force caused the blood in the blood pool to rise into the air like a column of blood. When Ning Cheng controlled the 7 Pleiades ice needle to attack the gray-robed cultivator, he once again punched out. This was his one and only killing fist, the axe fist. The killing intent of the great axe formed a line and directly bombarded Yu Xing's body from the side. Yu Xing had just successfully sneak attacked the true condensation 7th level cultivator and did not even have the time to take back his flying sword when he was attacked by Ning Cheng. He simply did not have the opportunity to dodge and was directly hit by the axe fist. A bloody light spurted out from Yu Xing's waist as Yu Xing staggered towards the direction of the blood pool. Ning Cheng immediately followed him, but did not fight back against Yu Xing and once again blasted out with his fist. Yu Xing's heart was filled with hatred. He did not think that Ning Cheng's reaction would be this fast. Moreover, he even continued to attack him. He did not even attack the gray-robed cultivator. It was not realistic for him to take back his magical weapon to block Ning Cheng's attack. The only way to retreat was through the blood pool. If he did not retreat, then he would be cut in half at the waist. Splash! Yu Xing was the third one to jump into the blood pool. When Yu Xing jumped into the blood pool, Ning Cheng really brought out his artifact. The long spear on his back brought out a spear shadow. 22 spear shadows were like 22 icicles, and in a twinkling of an eye formed a profound ice spear net. Ning Cheng did not hold back even a little bit of his strength. He was very clear that there was no way for him to leave this place in a hurry. Now that the gray-robed cultivator was seriously injured by the explosion of the true condensation 7th level cultivator's artifact, if he did not seize this opportunity, then he really would be an idiot. The clothes on the gray-robed cultivator's body had already disappeared, revealing a skinny and bony body. There was a huge bloody hole on the left side of his chest. Even half of his face had been blown away by the black seal artifact. Without the cover of his clothes, Ning Cheng could clearly see that this gray-robed cultivator did not even have legs. If not for Ning Cheng's 7 Pleiades Ice Needle sneak attack, then even if the true condensation 7th level cultivator's black seal exploded, it would at most cause him to suffer a minor injury. But now, he was not only seriously injured, moreover the 7 Pleiades Ice Needle had not been forced out from his body. If Ning Cheng did not continue to attack, then sooner or later he would have forced out the 7 Pleiades Ice Needle, but Ning Cheng's timing of the attack simply did not allow him to have even half a chance. The gray-robed man had just raised his hand to bring out a round shield, when he immediately stopped. The 7 Pleiades Ice Needle had already brought out the round shield, while the true essence in his body was slightly delayed, but at the same time, it had already exploded on top of his dantian. Being hit by the 7 Pleiades Ice Needle, the gray-robed man's dantian instantly turned into dust. Ning Cheng's 22 profound ice spear shadows completely fell on the gray-robed man's body. Ka-ka! A burst of cracking sounds resounded. The gray-robed man was turned into an icicle by Ning Cheng's 7 Pleiades Ice Needle and the 36 profound ice spear techniques. His whole body was like a piece of broken ice. Before he died, he still could not believe what he had just seen. In his eyes, although Ning Cheng was the first person to arrive here, but Ning Cheng's cultivation level was the lowest, so he did not need to care about him. But in the end, he actually died in the hands of the person with the lowest cultivation level, not because of anything else, but because every time the person with the lowest cultivation level attacked, it was as if he had already calculated everything. Not a single breath more, not a single breath less. Moreover, his most powerful move, unexpectedly, was not the thunderous attack that he had used at the beginning, but at the last moment he had used it to give him a fatal blow. Hua! The gray-robed man who had turned into broken pieces of ice finally turned into a small pile of ice slag. Ning Cheng felt the pressure around him lighten as he sat down on the ground weakly. At this moment he was very grateful to that true condensation 7th level cultivator. If not for that person exploding his artifact before he died, then he absolutely would not have been able to kill this gray-robed man. Chapter 82. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Ning Cheng was able to restore most of his true essence with the help of the spirit stones. The red flying sword had already fallen into the blood pool, but Ning Cheng did not intend to retrieve it, and just raised his hand to recall the 7 Pleiades Ice Needle. The gray-clothed man's belongings were hidden somewhere. He didn't have a storage bag or any other storage equipment on him. Ning Cheng did not care about the things on the body of this gray-robed man, a person who relied on blood to cultivate. Even if he had something on him, it was not something that he wanted. It was only now that he had the chance to observe his surroundings. The place he was at had a radius of several hundred square meters, and the surroundings were shrouded by a formation, making it seem vague and hazy. In the middle of this place was the huge blood pool. The blood mist above the pool made it hard to see clearly. His divine sense swept over, but it was immediately blocked by the array formation. Ning Cheng carefully looked at it several times, and confirmed that there was no other way out of this place other than the blood pool. The way in had been sealed by the gray-robed man. Unless he also had a talisman like Pei Guang he could use it to leave this place. His only hope of getting out was the blood pool. Otherwise, he could only attack the surrounding array by himself. Not to mention that Ning Cheng could not understand the surrounding array formations. Even if he could understand them, he would not dare to attack them casually. As for the blood pool, Ning Cheng did not want to enter it. This blood pool was bubbling with blood. After a few of the true condensation cultivators fell into it, there was no more movement. Just looking at it made one's scalp tingle. Ning Cheng tested the surface of the blood pool, and after confirming that there was no suction force, he flew over to the platform in the middle of the blood pool where the gray-robed man was sitting. With a wave of his hand, Ning Cheng immediately threw the bone fragments on the platform into the blood pool. Ning Cheng used the long spear in his hand to knock on the platform, causing it to emit a burst of rustling sound. Is it empty? Ning Cheng immediately became a little excited in his heart, although he did not care about the things of this gray-robed man, but he did not know how long this gray-robed man had stayed in this place. However, this relic was real. Perhaps all the items in the relic were stored here by the gray-clothed man. Ning Cheng did not spend much time before he was able to see the array formation carved on the platform. This was a simple ceiling array formation. Ning Cheng had only thrown out a few array flags, and with a raise of his hand, he was able to lift up a lid from the platform. A long and narrow staircase appeared under Ning Cheng's feet. Ning Cheng swept out with his spiritual sense, and after confirming that there were no problems, he stepped onto the staircase, while at the same time once again covering the outside of the staircase. It was unknown where the staircase led to. It was deep and long. Ning Cheng walked for a full half an hour, before he finally saw that there were no more stairs in front of him, but instead there was a sandstone paved path. Around the small path, there were some illumination stones floating in the air. Ning Cheng walked along the trail for nearly an hour, before he finally saw a stone house without a door. After confirming that there was no danger in this stone house, Ning Cheng finally entered the stone house. In the middle of the stone house sat a white skeleton. It was unknown how many years this skeleton had been there, but it still exuded a powerful pressure. It was even more powerful than the skeleton that the gray-robed man had picked up from the blood pool. On both sides of the stone house, apart from a stone table, there was only a stone shelf. There was nothing on the table or on the shelf. It could be seen that the things here had already been taken away by the people who had come before. As Ning Cheng approached the skeleton, he had some suspicions that this skeleton belonged to the legendary sea-opening realm cultivator. On the ground in front of the skeleton, Ning Cheng saw a row of small characters. "If you want to enter my sect, kowtow 49 times. Not to mention that Ning Cheng had not obtained anything. Even if he had obtained something, he would not kowtow 49 times to an unfamiliar skeleton for no reason. Ning Cheng walked to the foot of the wall, brought out the spear in his hands, and aimed it at the place where the words were written on the skeleton. Boom! The spear hit the ground, splashing up countless gravel. The skeleton suddenly broke apart at the same time, and shot out a dense amount of white bone arrows. Ning Cheng was startled, and immediately punched out with his axe fist. The white bone arrows seemed to be very old, as they were blown away by Ning Cheng's axe fist, and fell in front of Ning Cheng, unexpectedly not injuring Ning Cheng at all. Ning Cheng sighed, and looked at the skeleton, which had already broken apart and fallen to the ground. The ground that was blasted open by his spear, as well as the place where the skeleton had fallen, did not have anything. Ning Cheng was not disappointed. When he came in, he knew that the things here had already been taken away by the people who had come before him. At this time, a sand dragon fell down, and the roof of the stone house cracked open, causing the yellow sand outside the roof to fall down. Ning Cheng was not surprised, rather he was happy. Since there was yellow sand falling down here, it meant that the Thunder Fall Desert was above him. As long as he followed the yellow sand upstream, he would eventually reach the desert. A sharp cry came from a distant passage. Ning Cheng immediately recognized that the cry was coming from the voice of the young Queen Xiao Xiao. He did not know if this woman had entered the passage, or if the cry came from somewhere else. If she had entered the passage, then it meant that the array formation that sealed the blood pool had already been opened. But Ning Cheng did not want to go back. This ruin must have been searched countless times. Moreover, when he came in, he felt that the breeze was not right. The inside of the ruins was so strange, he did not have the idea of continuing to explore. It would be better to go up from the yellow sand that had fallen. When Ning Cheng crossed the ground that he had blasted open with his spear, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. He was a Tier 2 array formation master, so he could see that there was a concealment array formation engraved on one of the broken stones. He immediately picked up the broken stone, and with a little effort, an exquisite imperial jade seal appeared in his hands. The imperial jade seal was engraved with 4 words, Lan E Country. Hua! The yellow sand was falling more and more. Ning Cheng could no longer think about anything else. He threw the imperial jade seal into his storage bag, grabbed his spear and instantly rushed into the yellow sand. Under the operation of his true essence, Ning Cheng moved upstream in the yellow sand. 1 hour, 2 hours. Half a day passed by. Ning Cheng was still moving upstream in the yellow sand. Ning Cheng felt as if he was at the lowest point of the sand and was still far away from the top. Fortunately, Ning Cheng was already a true condensation cultivator and was able to breathe internally, otherwise he would have been suffocated to death. After half a day, he stopped and began to rest and restore his true essence. After another half a day, Ning Cheng felt that the place where the spear was in contact with had loosened, and the next moment the pressure on his head had also loosened. Bursts of yellow sand rolled over. Ning Cheng gave a long sigh. He finally arrived at the top of the desert. Ning Cheng did not stay here for even half a breath. He immediately found a direction and quickly left the place. He wanted to leave the vicinity first, and then find a safe place to clean himself up, and then restore his true essence. An hour later, Ning Cheng found a withered poplar tree on the periphery. He decided to rest here. Before deciding to rest here, Ning Cheng swept out with his spiritual consciousness. At this time his spiritual sense could already see a range of more than 10 miles around him. A cultivator with disheveled hair vaguely appeared in the range of Ning Cheng's spiritual sense. This cultivator was staggering. It was obvious that he did not have enough strength. This was a female cultivator. Looking at her appearance, it seemed that she was running away from the desert. Luofei. Ning Cheng almost instantly recognized this female cultivator. It turned out to be Ji Luofei. Wasn't Ji Luofei in the Hua Continent's Falling Star Academy? How could she appear in the Thunder Fall Desert? Ning Cheng almost did not think, and immediately rushed forward. In just a dozen breaths, Ning Cheng had already arrived in front of Ji Luofei. Ji Luofei saw a shadow rushing towards her, and almost subconsciously raised the flying sword in her hands and chopped it towards Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng simply raised his hand, causing Ji Luofei's flying sword to directly deviate. Not waiting for Ji Luofei to make her next move, Ning Cheng had already grabbed Ji Luofei's wrist. Luofei, what the hell is going on? It's me, Ning Cheng. Is she dead? Ji Luofei's gaze swept over Ning Cheng's face, and the crazed expression in her eyes immediately calmed down, and then she fainted into Ning Cheng's arms. Ning Cheng took out the water from the spiritual essence spring and fed it to Ji Luofei. He still had some pills in his storage bag. These pills were his spoils of war, but he did not know if these pills could be used or not, so he did not take them out. Ji Luofei was just exhausted. As long as she rested for a while, she should be able to wake up. Ning Cheng looked for a belt and put Ji Luofei on his back. He decided to change to another place and wait for Ji Luofei to fully recover. Ji Luofei was obviously in the Falling Star Academy, but now she was running alone in the desert. Something must have happened to her. If she had not met him in time, then as long as she casually cast a desert whirlpool, it would be enough to swallow her up. Ning Cheng once again changed direction, and at the same time sped up. Under the agitation of his true essence, some of the heat emanated out, causing Ji Luofei to wake up. Ji Luofei opened her eyes, and when she saw that she was on the back of a male cultivator, she immediately pulled out her flying sword from her waist. However, she immediately discovered that her flying sword was not on her body, and at the same time, she remembered the familiar face that she had seen before she fainted. Ning Cheng. Ji Luofei's trembling hand reached out and gently stroked the back of Ning Cheng's neck, as she spoke in a trembling voice. Are we finally dead? Ning Cheng felt Ji Luofei's incomparably gentle palm caressing him, and was just about to speak, when he heard Ji Luofei continue to speak in a trembling voice. I'm sorry, Ning Cheng. You asked me to help you take revenge, but I can't help you take revenge. You are my only relative. Even if I die with you, I am still very happy. Ji Luofei's ears once again rang with Ning Cheng's words. Don't be nervous, come with me, just listen to me. Luofei, you already know my qualifications. After you leave, just remember to take revenge for me. In her life, no one had ever been so kind to her. Even if Ning Cheng had bullied her for more than a decade, he had only been kind to her for a day, but she still could not forget it. Ning Cheng was the only person who had used his own life to save her, so when she did not want to leave Ning Cheng, she had no other choice. Unfortunately, before she died, she could not help Ning Cheng fulfill his wish to take revenge for Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng suddenly felt a bit sour on the tip of his nose. He really did not do anything to Ji Luofei. Before he came out of the prison, he had even bullied Ji Luofei for many years. This woman still regarded him as her only relative. Compared to Ji Luofei's actions, Ning Cheng suddenly felt very ashamed. On the surface, Ji Luofei did not do anything to him, but secretly went to the fighting pot and risked her life to win that chi-gathering stone, just so that he could cultivate. Chapter 83. Ning Cheng saw that Ji Luofei did not seem to have heard his words, and quickly asked again, "Luofei, what the hell happened? I remember that when you left the Chongqing province, you were already at the Qi-gathering 4th level, right? Why was he still at the Qi-gathering 5th level? You even came to the Thunderfall Desert?" He had thought of countless possibilities, but he had never imagined that he would not even have the time to activate his Thunderfire Talisman. His long hook-type artifact was not able to block the profound ice spear shadows for even a moment. It was not even able to transform out before it was taken away by the other party. "Luofei, are these people chasing you?" Ning Cheng stared at the 4 cultivators in front of him and asked. Among these 4 people, 2 of them were at True Condensation 1st level, 1 was at True Condensation 2nd level, and the last one was at Qi Gathering 9th level. Ning Cheng. Ji Luofei on Ning Cheng's back called out in a trembling voice. She felt that something was wrong. What was going on? Did he not die? If he did not die, then how could he meet Ning Cheng here? How could Ning Cheng kill 4 such terrifying opponents in a single breath? Ning Cheng was just about to speak when he found that he unexpectedly met people again. This time it was not 1 person but 4 people. Initially, when she had carried Ning Cheng back, she had thought that Ning Cheng had already died. Later, when Ning Cheng came back to life on her back, she did not feel even half a shred of surprise. For her, Ning Cheng's life or death really had nothing to do with her. As long as Ning Cheng was alive, she would take care of him, but if Ning Cheng died, she would bury him. The other 3 people simply did not need this True Condensation 2nd level cultivator to speak, as they had already blocked Ning Cheng's path. One of the True Condensation 1st level cultivator leapt high into the air and raised his hand to grab Ning Cheng's head. Puff! The True Condensation 1st level cultivator who had carelessly leapt over Ning Cheng's head simply did not have even half a shred of resistance and was directly torn into pieces by the profound ice spear shadows. Ji Luofei did not seem to understand and for a moment forgot to answer Ning Cheng's words. She had just been chased by these 4 people, so how could she come back? Ji Luofei still did not speak. How could she not know that returning to the Thunderfall Desert was a dead end? But where was she going? She was just a cultivator at the Qi Gathering 5th level. Where could she go? Even if she were to leave the Falling Star Academy and change to another place, she would only be able to live for a few more years. With more than 20 spear shadows, Ning Cheng only used them to deal with the 2 True Condensation 1st level cultivators. As for the Qi Gathering 9th level cultivator, Ning Cheng did not even use a single profound ice spear shadow to deal with him, he just blasted out a punch. The fish that slipped through the net has returned, and there's one more. A hoarse voice exclaimed in surprise. Bang! In front of Ning Cheng's axe fist, the Qi shield that the cultivator at the Qi Gathering 9th level had condensed was like a piece of paper and was instantly torn apart. Ning Cheng's axe fist without any reservation exploded on the body of the cultivator at the Qi Gathering 9th level, blood splashed everywhere, the cultivator was blown a few dozen feet away. When he fell to the ground, he was already a corpse. This True Condensation 2nd level cultivator was always on guard. When Ning Cheng made his move, he immediately brought out the half-moon long hook in his hands. Ji Luofei simply did not hear what Ning Cheng said, as she subconsciously wrapped her hands around Ning Cheng's neck and unexpectedly burst into tears. She was not happy that she did not die, but she was happy that Ning Cheng did not die. "That day when I carried you back, I did not care about your life and death. I am sorry, Grandpa Ning, I am sorry." Ji Luofei's voice was very small. It seemed that she was still blaming herself. Ning Cheng sighed and did not continue to talk about this. He just asked, "Luofei, do you know that in the Thunderfall Desert, even if it was a cultivator at the Essence Building realm, without a clear route, they would still fall in this place? You are only at the Qi Gathering 5th level. Once you return to the Thunderfall Desert, I really do not know what to say to you." She understood the meaning of Ning Cheng's words, but Ning Cheng did not understand what she meant. Even if an E was by his side, her cultivation speed would still be much faster than Ji Luofei's. The Qi-gathering 9th level cultivator's reaction was also very fast, but the killing intent of the axe fist directly wrapped around him. Even if his reaction was fast, in front of such strength, it was just like floating clouds. Although a level 3 Thunderfire talisman was incomparably precious, but compared to his life, and in his eyes, the profound Great Spear technique, this Thunderfire talisman was nothing. Ji Lufei subconsciously pinched him. She had forgotten that her hand was still on the back of Ning Cheng's neck. Ning Cheng felt a burst of pain, and immediately said with a bitter face, "You pinched me." But after that day, she kept thinking about Ning Cheng's shadow in her mind. He was the only person who was willing to die for her, and was even her fiancé. Looking for her parents was a long and uncertain journey. But Ning Cheng was in the Changqing province. Moreover, she knew that once she left, Ning Cheng's chances of survival would be very slim. Ning Cheng knew that the reason why the other party said those words was because he had seen his 36 profound ice spear technique, and even recognized it as a profound grade spear technique. He estimated that he was not his opponent, so he was terrified. The distant true condensation 2nd level cultivator had already reacted. At this time he was holding a half-moon long hook magic weapon that was glowing with a blue light as he stared at Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng once again looked back at Ji Luofei and smiled. "Lufei, you did not feel sorry for me. If not for you, perhaps I would have already died." Originally, he wanted to use the half-moon hook magic weapon to block Ning Cheng's profound ice spear light, and then activate the level 3 Thunderfire talisman in his hands. In his view, even if his Thunderfire talisman could not kill Ning Cheng, it would at least seriously injure Ning Cheng. Ji Luofei did not answer. Ning Cheng also knew that Ji Luofei was being chased by these people. The long spear in his hands brought out a spear light, which completely enveloped the 3 people. Ning Cheng raised his hand and put away the 5 elements treasure fall copper coin. He was secretly shocked in his heart. This copper coin was simply too terrifying. He had only refined a single layer of the restrictions, and it was already this terrifying. Once he refined all the restrictions, wouldn't it mean that as long as it was a magic weapon of the 5 elements, he would be able to kill it? Fortunately, he still had the 7 Pleiades ice needle. Otherwise he would have already died under the hands of this 5 elements treasure fall copper coin. Ji Luofei just hugged Ning Cheng tightly, and did not answer Ning Cheng's words. Ning Cheng was helpless. He could only pick up the things of the cultivators that he had killed, carry Ji Luofei on his back and quickly leave. No one knew what was in her mind, and she would not tell anyone. Ning Cheng patted Ji Luofei's back and said, "You should be happy to be alive, don't cry." Luofei's qualifications were not bad. Previously in the Changqing province, there were simply no cultivation resources, but Luofei was able to cultivate to the peak of the Qi-gathering 3rd level. It was reasonable to say that her aunt Jiyao he had brought her to the Hua continent's 5-star academy. With a variety of cultivation resources and guidance from a famous teacher, she should have already broken through to the late stages of the Qi-gathering realm. After a long time, Ji Luofei finally spoke from behind Ning Cheng. "I'm sorry, Ning Cheng." Holding a talisman in his hand that was only half activated, this true condensation 2nd level cultivator could not believe that he had died so quickly. Ning Cheng scratched his head in shame and said, "Wait, you must not think like that. In case you meet a bad person in the future, they will pretend to be good to you. If you think like that, then you will definitely be fooled." Ning Cheng knew that if Ji Luofei had not promptly carried him back from the entrance of the prison, then it would have been really hard to predict what would have happened to him. If not for the 5 elements treasure fall copper coin, he believed that he would not have been afraid of this true condensation 2nd level cultivator. But with the help of this magical weapon like this copper coin, things had become too simple. But this long hook had just been brought out, and had not even had the time to turn into a defensive line, when it was taken away by a huge copper coin. This true condensation 2nd level cultivator could only helplessly watch as the profound ice spear shadows completely submerged into his body. Ning Cheng looked back at Ji Luofei and smiled. "Luofei, I do not know how you came to the Thunderfall Desert from the Hua continent, but you do not have to worry about it. We are all alive and well, we did not die." Ning Cheng was silent for a moment and then said, "Luofei, you do not have to blame yourself. I was very fierce to you before, so it is normal that you did not care about me. Ning Cheng did not even have the interest to speak, as the 22 profound ice spear shadows once again swept out. The vast expanse of white profound ice spear shadows once again formed into a huge profound ice spear net, and directly sealed the true condensation second-level cultivator. But in his heart he felt a bit strange. In his original memory, Ji Luofei had never cried because of anything. This was the first time that he had seen Ji Luofei cry. Ji Luofei was silent. After a long time she spoke in a low voice, "I am not a fool." That true condensation second-level cultivator did not move, and just spoke to the other 3 people, "Kill the man, but leave the woman. We have been in this desert for more than half a year. It is already so dull that it is like a bird. Just a moment ago I accidentally killed the 2 of them, although this one is ugly, but her figure is still good." This stretch of yellow sand instantly turned into a layer of ice, as more than 20 profound ice spear shadows instantly formed into a huge spear net, as it wrapped around the 3 cultivators who had just arrived. He is not a cultivator at the Qi Gathering 7th level. Another cultivator at the true condensation 1st level had just spoken a few words. When more than a dozen profound ice spear shadows wrapped around him, he only had enough time to bring out his ring blade type artifact. He was not even able to stimulate it, and was swept away by more than a dozen profound ice spear shadows. More than 10 blood arrows sprayed out, and in an instant formed more than 10 icicles. She wanted to go to the Tsangqin province to look for Ning Cheng. It was a wish that she had after leaving the Ping continent on the airship. In case she managed to cross the Thunderfall Desert, she would even have the opportunity to return to the Tsangqin province. In case she died in the Thunderfall Desert, at least she would be a bit closer to the Tsangqin province. I did not think that you would actually be a true condensation cultivator. Since you are a true condensation cultivator, then even if these misunderstandings occurred, then let it go. From now on we will not have anything to do with each other. When this true condensation second-level cultivator spoke, his eyes were staring at Ning Cheng, while he slowly retreated. No. Ji Luofei immediately denied Ning Cheng's words. "I later came to know that you are the best to me. Since my grandfather passed away, there has never been anyone who was as good to me as you are to me." If it was before Ning Cheng took her out of the Tsangqin 2-star academy, and she did not know that Ning Cheng was this good to her, then she would have tried her best to find cultivation resources to continue cultivating, and then go look for her parents. Chapter 84. Seeing Ji Luofei not speak, Ning Cheng also did not continue to ask her. He was thinking about Ji Luofei's words. Ji Luofei said that since her grandfather passed away, no one had been so good to her. But thinking about it, he did not think that he had been good to her. If there was one thing that might have moved Ji Luofei, then it was at the back of the Tsangqin 2-star academy, when they were stopped by 2 late-stage Qi Gathering cultivators, and he had asked Ji Luofei to go first. If that was the case, then it was really too shameful. At that time it was obvious that if the 2 of them did not go, then they would have died. He had asked Ji Luofei to go first, but it turned out that even if Ji Luofei went first, he would not have been able to stop the 2 late-stage Qi Gathering cultivators for even half a minute. "Luofei, if you are talking about that day when we escaped, in fact, even if I did not do that, I estimate that if your aunt did not come, then we would have died. With my strength, there is really no way to stop those 2 people and let you go, not to mention that you did not want to go." After Ning Cheng thought about it, he simply said, "Star-shaped poplar tree." Not waiting for Ji Luofei to answer, Ning Cheng was pleasantly surprised and stopped. This star-shaped poplar tree was the 6th desert mark on the map that he had given to Tai Shushi. Following the largest corner of the star-shaped poplar tree would be the correct direction. Moreover, if he walked straight for about 3 days, he would see a small desert oasis. "We will rest here," Ning Cheng said as he put down Ji Luofei. Finding the new mark on the map, Ning Cheng was really relieved. He knew that as long as they followed the correct route, the danger would be minimal. In a short time, Ning Cheng had set up a simple tent. "Luofei, you go inside the tent and rest. I will look around and also rest." Ji Luofei was just exhausted and did not suffer any serious injuries. Ji Luofei looked at Ning Cheng for a while, until Ning Cheng touched his face with his hand, she said a baffling sentence, "I will not go." Looking at Ji Luofei enter the tent, Ning Cheng helplessly shook his head. He also washed himself and changed his clothes. Then he began to arrange an array formation around the tent. When Ning Cheng finished arranging the array formation, Ji Luofei came out of the tent. Her face was still the same as before, with a few extremely ugly knife scars, but Ning Cheng felt that this Ji Luofei was completely different from before. Her clothes were still the same set of clothes, but she had used the clear water method to wash it, and even her hair had been rearranged by her, and was tied into a beautiful bun. Ning Cheng only knew that this bun was very good-looking, but he did not know what kind of bun it was. She tied a knot on her torn dress, which matched her slender waist, making her look even more pure and beautiful. It was obvious that Ji Luofei, under the limited conditions, had dressed herself up. In Ning Cheng's current and past memories, Ji Luofei seemed to have never deliberately dressed herself up. He did not expect that when she dressed up like this, it would unexpectedly give Ning Cheng a kind of indescribable liking. The most obvious change was not the change in her clothes and hairstyle, but the fact that she seemed to be different from before. It was hard to tell what exactly had changed. If he had to describe it, it was like a pool of stagnant water in the past, but now it was a flowing spring. "Luofei, you should have dressed up like this a long time ago. I think it looks very beautiful." Ning Cheng praised her from the bottom of his heart. Ji Luofei seemed to be secretly relieved, as her face turned slightly red, and whispered, "Ning Cheng, you also come in." "Okay, I also have something to ask you." Ning Cheng quickly followed Ji Luofei into the tent. "I also lost my package and do not have any other clothes." As if to explain why she was still wearing this set of clothes, after Ji Luofei entered the tent, she added another sentence. "Your aunt is a cultivator in the essence building realm. Why didn't she give you a storage bag? Even if she did not have a storage bag, shouldn't she at least have a storage bag?" Ning Cheng frowned and said. Luofei spoke in a gentle tone, "The things that my aunt gave me, I left them to my aunt." "But did your aunt not know that you came to the Thunder Fall Desert?" Ning Cheng blurted out. Ji Luofei was silent and did not answer Ning Cheng's question. Ning Cheng instantly understood what was going on. Ji Luofei and her aunt definitely had some unpleasantness between them, as such it was better not to ask about it. Originally Ning Cheng was still considering whether or not he should tell Ji Luofei about Xiong Qihua's matter, but now that he saw that Ji Luofei and her aunt had some unpleasantness between them, he immediately decided not to speak about this matter. He did not want to hurt Ji Luofei's heart again. "Sit down." Ning Cheng took out 2 chairs and placed them on the ground. After Ji Luofei sat down, the two of them once again fell into silence. Ji Luofei was not good with words, and simply did not know what to say. Ning Cheng actually wanted to ask Ji Luofei why she left the Hua continent, but thinking that he had asked her a few times before, Ji Luofei did not answer. He guessed that it was something sad, and did not know how to speak about it. "Ning Cheng, how did your cultivation become so high?" Ji Luofei finally broke the silence. Ning Cheng did not hide anything, and told her about how he escaped from the Zhangli city, how he met an Yi, and how he came to the Mingot city. He also told her about some of the things that happened, and then found a spiritual essence spring in the Dawn Forest, which also allowed his cultivation to improve a lot. In addition to the matters of the mysterious yellow bead and Ji Luofei's mother, Ning Cheng also told her everything. He believed that Ji Luofei would not casually speak about his matters. Moreover, there were a lot of things that an Yi also knew. In Ning Cheng's heart, Ji Luofei was much closer than an Yi. Since an Yi already knew about it, he did not need to hide it from Ji Luofei. After all, Ji Luofei and Ji Luofei were still engaged in a fiancé relationship, at least until now it had not been dissolved. Ji Luofei was obviously affected by Ning Cheng's thrilling experience. Her hands were tightly grasping his hand for a moment, and then loosening it for a moment. It was not until Ning Cheng said that he came out from the ruins of the Lani country, and then met her again, that she finally felt relieved. Hearing that Ning Cheng had obtained hundreds of spirit stones, her heart started to pound. Even in the Hua continent, her aunt had only given her a few dozen spirit stones at most. These spirit stones, she had returned all of them to her aunt. Later, when she heard that Ning Cheng had obtained tens of thousands of spirit stones, she almost became numb. As Ning Cheng finished speaking, he remembered that he had obtained the Imperial Jade Seal, but he did not intend to take it out now. This was not a safe place. In case the Imperial Jade Seal's aura leaked out, then he would only be asking for trouble. Ning Cheng took out a storage bag. The storage bag originally had 1,000 spirit stones inside. Ning Cheng also took out a flying sword and a few sets of clothes and put them into the storage bag. "Luofei, this is for you. The clothes are only for me. Wait until we reach the Hua continent, then you can buy some of the clothes that you need." Ning Cheng handed the storage bag to Ji Luofei. He was worried that Ji Luofei would not even want her aunt's storage bag and would also not want his. Contrary to Ning Cheng's expectations, Ji Luofei did not hesitate for even half a moment as she took the storage bag from Ning Cheng and then tied the storage bag to her waist, without even saying a word of thanks. Ning Cheng breathed a sigh of relief. He really did have several of these storage bags. Ji Luofei's cultivation was poor. In addition to the lack of cultivation resources, it was definitely because of the cultivation method. "Luofei, do you know what your spiritual roots are?" Ning Cheng also had a water attribute profound grade cultivation method and an earth attribute profound grade cultivation method. If Ji Luofei's spiritual roots were not water or earth, then he would have to help her take a look. "I have a water and fire dual spiritual root. My main spiritual root leans towards water." When Ji Luofei heard Ning Cheng ask about her spiritual roots, she immediately thought of Ning Cheng's spiritual roots. Ning Cheng's spiritual roots were so poor, even if he obtained a lot of opportunities, wouldn't it be impossible for him to cultivate this fast? Ning Cheng clapped his hands and laughed and said, "Great, I just happen to have a profound grade water attribute cultivation method. You do not need to cultivate your original cultivation method, you can cultivate a water attribute cultivation method." Saying that, Ning Cheng took out a jade strip and handed it to Ji Luofei. "It doesn't matter if you don't understand the contents of this jade strip, I will teach you slowly in the beginning, and you will be able to understand it later." Ji Luofei was the same as Ning Cheng. She did not know much about the preciousness of a profound grade cultivation method. She only knew that this cultivation method should be much better than the one she had cultivated before. "Luofei, you have 1,000 low-grade spirit stones in your storage bag. You can use these spirit stones to cultivate. With your qualifications, you will definitely be able to advance to the true condensation realm." Hearing Ning Cheng say that he already had 1,000 spirit stones in his storage bag, Ji Luofei was so shocked that she stood up. Only the core students of the Falling Star Academy, as well as some of the cultivators above the true condensation realm, would have a net worth of hundreds or even thousands of spirit stones. For someone like her with a dual spiritual root, although she had some treatment in the Falling Star Academy, but in comparison, it was a lot worse. Moreover, she also needed to work hard and complete some tasks in order to obtain them. She had just arrived at the Falling Star Academy not too long ago, and had already left. As such, she did not have the opportunity to complete any tasks. "Ning Cheng, my qualifications are better than yours. You can keep these spirit stones for your own use." Ji Luofei quickly wanted to leave the spirit stones for Ning Cheng. She was completely unclear. That profound grade water attribute cultivation method was much more precious than 1,000 spirit stones. Ning Cheng patted his storage bag and said, "I still have a few thousand spirit stones, you do not have to worry about it. Now, why did you come to the Thunderfall Desert alone?" Seeing Ji Luofei calm down, Ning Cheng knew that at this time, she should be able to answer his questions. Ji Luofei lowered her head and said in a somewhat lost tone, "My aunt insisted that I marry into one of the 7 major clans of the Hua continent, the Shui clan, but I did not agree to it. I wanted to go back to the Tsongqing province to see you, so I entered the Thunderfall Desert alone." "This meddlesome woman!" Ning Cheng angrily shouted. Chapter 85. What is a gossipy old woman? Ji Luofei, on hearing Ning Cheng call her aunt a gossipy old woman, did not understand for a moment, and asked a question. Ning Cheng chuckled and quickly changed the topic. "Let's not talk about your aunt's matter. I heard that the Hua continent is going to establish a 6-star academy. Is it going to be a competition between the 5 5-star academies? Do you know about this?" Ji Luofei nodded and said, Yes, there is indeed such a thing. This tournament is not only about the overall strength of the five-star academies of the Hua continent, but it is also about the potential strength of the five-star academies. The true deciding factor was one's potential strength. For this potential strength, each of the five-star academies will select a portion of the true condensation disciples, and then carry out a comprehensive competition. Would those with good results be selected to go to an intermediate class continent? Ning Cheng quickly asked again. This was what he really wanted to ask. He had the Clear Sky 5-Star Academy's admission jade card. If he could enter the 5-Star Academy, then he believed that even if he had to face a late-stage true condensation cultivator, he would still have the power to fight. Wasn't the tournament about comparing the strong and the weak? If his strength was good, then he would be able to get a place in the tournament of the 5-Star Academies and be sent to an intermediate class continent. That would be a fortunate thing. Ning Cheng had long understood that if one wanted to cultivate to a higher realm, then staying in a lower class continent was simply not possible. Only by going to an intermediate class continent or a high class continent would one be able to find the opportunity to cultivate to a higher realm. I am not very clear about this. I did not stay in the Falling Star Academy for a long time. Most of my time was spent in other places and in the Thunderfall Desert. I only heard that the rewards for the top few are very generous. As for the others... Ji Luofei's words were interrupted by Ning Cheng. Luofei, you are only at Qi Gathering 5th level. How can you walk in the Thunderfall Desert for such a long time? And he even came here? Ji Luofei's eyes showed a trace of sadness. I met a good person at the edge of the Thunderfall Desert. They were also forced by their enemies to go to the Yuan continent. I followed them. They seemed to have a relatively safe route. We walked in the desert for a month or two without encountering any major dangers. But 3 days ago, we encountered a sandstorm. When Ning Cheng heard this, he immediately knew that it was not good. The reason why he had deviated from his original direction was because he had encountered a yellow dragon that had been swept up by sand and stones. At the same time, he sighed in his heart. This kind of family migration was everywhere. Once he offended a powerful opponent, if he couldn't find a way to hide in time, he could only pass through the danger zone and go to another continent. Didn't the Ning family and the Ji family come to be like this? That sandstorm was extremely terrifying. We were all separated. I followed a few people and deviated from our original direction. Later on, we met a few cultivators who were robbing us. They were the 4 you killed before. After a few of us were stopped, we scattered and ran away. Perhaps it was because my face was disfigured and my cultivation was low, and they didn't have enough manpower, so I actually managed to escape. I frantically ran in the same direction. I always felt that this was the direction I should be heading in. Then I really met you. Ji Luofei's tone was very gloomy. It was obvious that she was worried about that good family. Ning Cheng did not know how to comfort Ji Luofei, so he once again changed the topic and asked, Luofei, I want to ask you about a person in the Falling Star Academy. Is there a person called Meng Yujing? Regarding Ji Luofei being acquainted with Meng Yujing, Ning Cheng did not have much hope. There were so many people in the Falling Star Academy. Moreover, Ji Luofei had not been to the Falling Star Academy for a long time, so it was normal that she did not know Meng Yujing. Ji Luofei looked at Ning Cheng in doubt and replied, How do you know her? Meng Yujing was the most beautiful girl in the Falling Star Academy. Moreover, she was also one of the top 10 core disciples. He had the cultivation of true condensation 7th level, and was also the disciple of one of the Academy's 3 profound core deans. I saw it once from afar. Didn't I tell you before that I met Ko Hong in the Dawn Forest? He asked me to bring something to Meng Yujing. The fact is that I do not know Meng Yujing. Ning Cheng explained. This was the first time that the two of them had spoken so many words together. It was also the first time that Ning Cheng was able to understand Ji Luofei's heart. This was a truly kind and grateful woman. Ning Cheng and Ji Luofei rested here for a day before packing up their things and leaving. Since Ji Luofei found Ning Cheng, it was obvious that she wanted to follow Ning Cheng back to the Hua continent. As for the matter regarding her parents, she decided to wait until her cultivation was high enough, and then go to the Dawn Forest to look for them. Along the way, Ning Cheng constantly taught Ji Luofei new cultivation methods. Ji Luofei was already at Qi Gathering 5th level, as such she only needed to cultivate her spiritual sense. Coupled with the many spirit stones that Ning Qing gave her, as well as the pointers that he did not conceal, Ji Luofei progressed very quickly. 3 days later, when Ning Qing and Ji Luofei arrived at the oasis, Ji Luofei was already able to release some of her spiritual sense. Ning Qing remembered that the oasis on the map was originally a small lake, and the small lake was surrounded by a circle of jujube trees and red willows. But when Ning Qing finally arrived here, he found that the jujube trees and red willows had already disappeared. The small lake also had a huge bathtub-sized sandpit. What's wrong? Ji Luofei saw Ning Qing stop and did not move forward, and asked in a puzzled manner. Ning Qing pointed to the sandpit in front of him and said, I remember on the map that I obtained, this oasis has existed for countless years, and has never dried up. How come it dried up when I came here? Ji Luofei did not have the time to answer, when a rich spiritual qi emerged from the bottom of the huge sandpit. Spiritual qi. Ji Luofei simultaneously discovered this rich spiritual qi, and looked at Ning Qing with a surprised expression. Ning Qing stared at the increasingly rich spiritual qi in the sandpit, and was ready to enter the sandpit to have a look. With such a rich spiritual qi here, there must be something good inside the sandpit. There seems to be very few people on this route, otherwise if there were any good things here, perhaps they would have already taken them away. Ji Luofei certainly understood that there should be something good at the bottom of the sandpit with such a rich spiritual qi. Ning Qing, on hearing Ji Luofei's words, stopped in his tracks and asked, Luofei, did you say that the family that brought you into the Thunderfall Desert also has a map to pass through the Thunderfall Desert? Ji Luofei gave an N sound and spoke. Yes, we walked for a month or two, and did not encounter any danger, so they should have a map. It does not seem to be the road that we are currently taking. Ning Qing frowned, although the Thunderfall Desert was extremely dangerous, but for countless years, the number of low-leveled cultivators who had passed through the Thunderfall Desert was not small. Moreover, these low-leveled cultivators obviously did not take the same route. Since it was the same and the same safe route, there must have been people who had come out. This was an oasis, which meant that there were definitely people who knew about it. Since there were other people who knew about it, then why did they wait for so many years? And when he passed through this place, the spiritual qi was still so rich? Could it be that the good things were just waiting for him to take them away? There were simply too many mysterious things in the desert. If one's strength was not enough, then it would be better to just forget about it. Just like that mysterious North Jew tribe, Ning Qing still did not know the exact location of that tribe. Hey, let's go. Ning Qing gave up on the idea of jumping into the sandpit to look for treasures, as he took Ji Luofei and bypassed the sandpit and was about to leave. At this time, a large area around the sandpit suddenly collapsed. Even the place where Ning Qing was standing also began to collapse, as two incomparably dark and shriveled palms grabbed towards Ning Qing and Ji Luofei's back. Ning Qing immediately knew that this was not good. Almost at the same time as the two dark and shriveled palms grabbed towards him, he immediately grabbed Ji Luofei and threw her out of the sandpit, while simultaneously shouting, "Lei, quickly leave." Saying that, he immediately shot out with his spear-type artifact. This spear-type artifact was shot out with almost all of his strength, without even half a shred of reservation. Boom! The spear exploded on the palm of the dark and shriveled palms, causing the dark and shriveled palms to stagnate, causing Ning Qing to spit out a mouthful of blood as he borrowed the force to fly out. But Ning Qing had just borrowed the force to fly out, when the shriveled palms that were originally trying to grab Ji Luofei also came to grab him. A formidable force pulled Ning Qing towards the dark and shriveled palms. How could Ning Qing not know that once he fell into this palm, he would not be able to survive? At this time, he did not have even half a thought, and directly threw all of his low-leveled artifacts, other than the spear, towards this palm. Then, learning the method of that true condensation 7th level cultivator, he stimulated all of his true essence, while simultaneously crazily burning his essence blood. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions resounded, as the few low-leveled artifacts that Ning Qing threw at the dark and shriveled palms were blown back. Ning Cheng continuously spat out a few mouthfuls of blood in the air, although he had temporarily escaped from this palm, but he still fell into the huge sandpit. In order to blow up his artifacts, at this time he did not even have half a shred of strength to return to the outside of the sandpit. The moment Ji Luofei was thrown away by Ning Cheng, she knew that something bad had happened. She saw a huge sandpit appear, and a black and shriveled palms were trying to grab Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng was about to fall into the sandpit. She did not even think about it, and immediately rushed towards Ning Cheng. She swore in her heart that she would never let such a thing happen again. Since Ning Cheng fell into the sandpit, she must save him. If she could not save Ning Cheng, then she might as well fall into the sandpit together with Ning Cheng. At this moment, she did not have any other thoughts in her mind. The huge impact of the explosion of the artifacts caused Ning Cheng to fly high, but Ning Cheng soon fell back down again. At this time, Ji Luofei had just arrived at the entrance of the sandpit as she immediately waved a long belt. The long belt wrapped around Ning Cheng, and with her hand, she unexpectedly pulled Ning Cheng out of the sandpit. Ji Luofei held back the excitement in her heart as she reached out to hold Ning Cheng tightly and used her fastest speed to escape. She was glad that the long belt on Ning Cheng's back was now on her body. She was glad that she did not hesitate to rush over, even if there was even half a moment of hesitation. Even if she arrived at the entrance of the sandpit, she could only helplessly watch Ning Cheng fall into the sandpit. Ji Luofei had just left with Ning Cheng when the black and shriveled giant hand once again stretched out from the sandpit, but when it found that there was no one around, the black and shriveled palm once again slowly retracted into the sandpit. Half an hour later, Ji Luofei took a deep breath and put Ning Cheng down. Then she carried Ning Cheng on her back, using the long belt in her hand to secure him, and then grabbed Ning Cheng's long spear in her hand. "Luofei, thank you. If not for you, I would have died this time." Ning Cheng, who was lying on Ji Luofei's back, spoke out with some lingering fear. "You lied to me." Ji Luofei suddenly spoke out in an inexplicable voice. Ning Cheng was startled. He did not know what Ji Luofei meant. "You said that on that day, you knew that the result would be the same, so you told me to go first, and you to bring up the rear." Ji Luofei pursed her lips. "But why are you still like this today?" Ning Cheng opened his mouth. How could he have thought about it so much at that time? He subconsciously spoke up. "Two people, one going is better than the other not being able to walk away. That's why you came back to save me. No, you had thrown me towards that black hand, and then you could have used that force to escape." Ji Luofei's voice even contained a hint of sobbing. Ning Cheng did not do such a thing. Instead, he grabbed her and threw her away. In this case, Ning Cheng's speed of falling into the sandpit was even faster. "Why are you so good to me?" You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.